Hmm? Ah!
Yes, he's been wronged, and I personally would be ready to apologize, but I...
Oh, someone put a stake in me.
You got a lot of volunteers in here.
I just can't take all this mamby-pamby boo-hooing about the bloody Indians.
The preferred term is...
You won, all right? You came in and you killed them and you took their land. That's what conquering nations do. That's what Caesar did. And he's not going around saying, I came, I conquered, I felt really bad about it. The history of the world is not people making friends. You had better weapons and you massacred them. End of story.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. I'm Penny.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm Kara. For this episode, we're going to be discussing Angel Season 1, Episode 7, The Bachelor Party, written by Tracy Stern and directed by David Straighten, and Buffy Season 4, Episode 8, Pangs, written by Jane Espenson and directed by Michael Lang.
The Bachelor Party originally aired on November 16th, 1999, to an audience of 3.2 million households. Some alternative titles in other languages for this episode were Bachelor's Day in Finnish, Demon Bachelor Party in French, very direct there, and Party with Bite in German, which is
That's my favorite.
That one's great. The German and the French were like, we want no surprises.
Yeah.
Pangs, a crossover episode, originally aired on November 23rd, 1999, to an audience of 4.2 million households. Some alternative titles in other languages for this episode were Tortures in Armenian, Old Wrongs in Czech, The Avenging Spirit in French, Pangs of Conscience in Polish and Japanese, and The Ghost of the Shumash in German. Straight to the point, those Germans.
I love that.
You know, they've had enough surprises in that country. I think they're
Yeah.
Very
especially,
just done with that.
especially in terms of diversity. They're like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
We have to call it out as we see it. Which I appreciate.
Oh,
So
God.
I'm so excited that we're finally back together to record this episode. What we have come to call the cursed episode because of all of the various things that have delayed us recording it.
All
But
the
here we are,
things.
very excited to be back, and hopefully we'll be able to stay on a pretty steady schedule from here on out.
Seriously.
And I guess let's get into it. We'll start on the Bachelor Party Angel episode side of things, and then we'll shift into the discussion of Pangs. So our first thing is the Y2K moment of the episode on the Bachelor Party. Kara, want to go first?
Sure. Mine was the stripper's outfit. It was so Y2K. Yes. And that electric blue with the feathers. I was like, oh, this is exactly like what a late 90s stripper would look like in my head. Like that was such a stereotype and kind of perfect. Not going to lie.
Yeah. How about you, Sam?
I think the cell phones. Or the lack of the cell phones, like it just really stood out to me of like if we had really great cell phones, we could just text that to each other, all these little missing pieces in there.
Can't just text Doyle like, hey man,
these demons are about
they're
to
gonna
eat your brain. I know Angel
LOL.
uses a wall phone at the restaurant to call Cordelia, which must be a number she doesn't know, and she picks up. I'm like, I wouldn't pick up a number I don't know.
No,
never,
right? Especially not
in a
today.
million years.
100%.
Those get sent straight to voicemail now.
Yeah, totally. So my Y2K moment of the week, of course, I got a sound clip for it.
You know, the
trivia games on the internet now. You can challenge against drunks around the world.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Remember when that was new?
Yes. That's adorable.
Remember
God, I
when that
feel
was
old.
cool? Yeah, like remember
Yeah.
when that was cool? Oh my goodness. Ready for my urn now. Jeez.
I know. I'm so old. Like when you think you're old, and then I'm like, I think I'm 10 years older than you. Okay.
I mean, like, to be fair, this is only a couple years away from me being in like my third grade computer lab with a Beanie Baby, typing in www.ty.com so I could go
Oh,
check out
nice.
all the Beanie Babies on the internet.
Oh my God, you're such a child. All right.
You are. You're only like 4 years younger than me. No, like 6 years younger than me, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just disturbing.
My bad.
Yeah.
Now we
Well,
all feel
speaking
old.
of how old we are, let's just take a little journey back to the 90s.
Yay. I love this because the number one song in the US is Still Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas. And I remember listening to this song repeatedly when it
This
came
song was
out.
everywhere at the end of the
So good.
90s. You could
And
not escape it. Every
and
store you went into, every like
over
time you
and
turn on the
over again.
radio. Yeah.
And it led to my dad telling me not to smoke weed because he first told me the story about how he smoked weed with Carlos Santana's bassist one time when he was security at a concert in Houston. And then my mom was like, Jim, she's 10. Like, or 11. Like, let's do something else. He was like, well, that's how you know you don't smoke weed, especially if it's from a stranger. And I was like, yeah, okay.
All right, Dad.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did.
Yeah,
Take
good to
drugs
know.
from strangers.
It's a bass player in a rock band. I'm
Yep.
sure you can trust him.
It's like,
I know.
okay.
I mean,
But that
luckily for
memory
him,
is forever associated with that song.
yeah, lucky for him, security at concerts in Houston have an even bigger drop since
Yep. Yep.
Astroworld.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
R.I.P.
Yeah, that was a special concert. And then the number one song in the UK was King of My Castle by the Wham Do Project.
I
That,
have no idea what that is.
okay, I feel better because I was just like, what? Most
never
of the
heard of
UK
that.
songs I've heard of. This I haven't. I might have to give that a listen. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, best-selling books on the New York Times bestseller list. Still at number one for fiction is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Tis by Frank McCourt for nonfiction. And in the box office, number one is the James Bond film The World Is Not Enough. Number two was Sleepy Hollow. And number three was Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. I remember the first two. I do not remember Pokemon.
On this day, Jessica Simpson released her debut studio album titled Sweet Kisses. God, that's such an on-brand name for her. Title for her.
Me too.
President Bill Clinton urges Kosovo Albanians to try and forgive Serbs for injustices inflicted upon them.
Got a
The
well-rounded
fell silent in reaction. Yeah,
No
I'm
kidding.
sure.
news approach.
Yeah.
Try and forgive these war crimes.
It's fine.
After much speculation, Hillary Rodham Clinton finally announced that she would enter the race for the open Senate seat from New York State. I voted for her in that election.
Aww.
During this week, on November 21st, 1999, China launched and announced its first successful mission of unstaffed spacecraft in a key step forward for Chinese space exploration. Also on November 21st, 1999, Elian Gonzalez,
Yep.
Cuban boy at the center of a heated 2000 controversy involving the governments of Cuba and the United States, departed from Cuba with his mother. On November 22nd, 1999, Elian Gonzalez and his mother are sighted off of Florida's coast by the U.S. Coast Guard. As a Floridian, I remember the story.
Bet.
On November 22nd, 1999, Iraq retaliated against the UN and cut off oil exports after a Russian move to change terms in Iraq's favor led the UN to shorten their oil for food program to 2 weeks. These ongoing sanctions were punishment against Iraq for failing to eliminate weapons of mass destruction. Wow, there's just corruption all over that war, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Just a
Also,
little
oil for
foreshadowing.
food? Whoa.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so rough.
Oh, this
That's a
is all
rough
rushing
exchange.
back to me.
Yeah.
This was a time in my life when I read the New York Times like in entirety every day. So all of this news was like
Yikes.
in my head. On November 25th, later that week, 5-year-old Elian Gonzalez was found in an inner tube off the Florida coast. His mother and 9 others drowned while fleeing Cuba. Elian became the focus of a controversy when his father, still in Cuba, asked that the U.S. return him. American relatives who sheltered Elian did not want to return him to a communist country. That went on for a long
It
time.
did.
It did.
Spoilers. We returned him.
And then on the 26th of November, antitrust officials notified the states of an agreement to recommend Exxon's $81 billion acquisition of Mobil. I was so angry about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am an antitrust purist. I hate monopolies, and I don't think these acquisitions should have been allowed.
That was a big
Yeah.
one.
But all that's history because we basically have no antitrust division anymore.
No, and
Yeah.
everything's great. There's no
Yeah, what?
inequality. It's
worked out
perfect.
great.
Yeah, everyone has
Totally
enough. No,
fine.
it's all good.
Nobody is exerting undue pressure in the market or price
No.
gouging. That's not happening.
No, not at all.
It's fine.
It's all good.
It's fine.
I feel like that meme. It's fine.
Yeah, I was just about to
It's
say
fine.
the dog sitting in the middle of the kitchen with everything on fire.
And then someone's
Fine.
like, here's your bill for the fire. That's free heating.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We fought for this fire. Go.
All right, let's get into it about the Bachelor Party. Not one of my favorite episodes, but a few key things sort of happen in the episode that matter going forward. So, who wants to start? Sam, why don't you start us off?
Okay. When Cordy was doing the audition, like it's when she was in there in the beginning of the episode, I guess she wasn't auditioning, but when she was in there in the episode, I just have it written down. Oh, looks like Cordelia's auditioning for the Real Housewives of LA. She'd be great.
She would be great.
Great.
I've been on those dates like Cordy and like just eyes glazing over at the dumb poop I had to pretend to be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And it made
I
me
love when he was like, I'm sorry if I bored you. And she goes, oh, I don't mind. Not you weren't boring.
Okay, that's something I would probably say.
Yeah. It's just like, it's fine.
So it made me wonder, what is the dullest thing you've had to pretend to be interested in
Oh
on a
my
date,
gosh.
ladies?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. There's so much dullness on dates.
Really?
There really
It's
is.
usually, oh, I know exactly what it was. I know. It was, I went on a date with this one guy and he had just seen the movie Old School. And he asked if I had seen it. And I said no. And I said, it's not really my kind of movie. And he was like, oh, it's really funny. I think you'd like it. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. And then he kept telling me lines from the movie and how funny they were for the rest of the date.
That's funny.
And I was like, well, now I don't need to see it because I guess you told me all the good parts. And he's like, oh no, there's more good parts. And then he would keep going. It was wild. I was like, do you not have any other thing to talk about? Like, this seems to be your entire personality is this one movie.
Yeah, mine was probably on a date with this defense attorney that was my age but had gone to law school a little bit later and was really into being an attorney and would not stop talking about, this case that he tried or this case that he pled out. And they were just the most inconsequential stories I think I've ever heard. And it was one of those, like, you should be impressed that I'm an attorney.
And
It
you're
was
like,
one
but
of
I
those
also
vibes, and
am
I was just like,
an attorney.
does this usually work for you? Because I was just like,
Yeah.
that's a terrible deal. You got that guy a terrible deal. Like, I'd never felt more, I don't know, like, condescended to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was
Yep.
just like, oh, buddy, this is not going the way you
Nope.
think it is.
Nope.
He really enjoyed his stories. I did not. I did not.
He really enjoyed his story.
He did. Because I
I
remember
feel like that is
afterwards
all
he
the
told
Pierces.
our mutual friends that things went great and I was a great listener. And I was like, that's because you didn't let me talk, jackass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
That's
I was
He
waiting.
should have just gone out with a mirror. Like, just put a mirror on the other side of the table and
Yes.
have dinner with yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
That I think
I
he
would
probably
say,
would have enjoyed a lot better.
yeah, I mean, he seems to love only his company.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the only thing he's interested in. Yeah, mine is a tie between one guy I went out with, all he did was talk about sports, and then all
Oof.
he wanted to do was
Mm.
teach me about sports,
Oh, God.
even though I told him I am not at all interested in sports. And
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
No.
it's like I like nothing against sports. It's just I'm not interested in them means I don't want to also learn about
Learn
how
that.
a
Yeah.
quarterback can score a touchdown easier. So like so
This
like
just happened to me yesterday with a friend where
That's
somebody said a
hilarious,
sports
though.
thing to me, and I said, I have no idea what that means. And then he
Mhm,
proceeded
yeah.
to explain it in a really long text message, and I was like, I didn't ask.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't tell. That doesn't mean I want to know what it
No.
means.
No. Yeah.
Whereas
No,
I
not at
feel
all.
like I have had the opposite experience where if you tell a guy, it's some of them. If you tell them that you're into sports, like I'm, you know that, like I'm obsessed with baseball. Baseball is like right up there with Taylor Swift with my special interests and hyperfixations. But the guys that hear that and are like, oh, well, can you name 5 players on the
Oh my God.
Astros
The gatekeeping.
2005 World Series roster? And I want to be like, I could name all of them. Do you want me to? Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here? Like, that
Yeah.
type of reaction is also negative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's also
irritating.
not great. Yeah, no, it's never fun when someone likes to bring up that they know more about your position.
Or they
And-
Or they
assume they
think they
do
do.
because
Yeah.
they're a dude.
But it all
Not
goes
unlike-
back to not seeing you as a person to have a conversation with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they're not listening. They're
yeah.
just like, oh, I get to info dump.
yes.
Yeah, and I have a terrible poker face, so this guy's like teaching me that I didn't ask, and I had very clearly said twice that I'm not interested in sports. I have nothing against them. I'm just not interested in them. And he proceeds to tell me all the defensive positions and using the different condiments on the table to
Oh my
influence them.
God.
And I'm just sitting there like my chin on my hand. I was younger. I mean, I was like in my early 20s, so I didn't have a louder voice. And I'm just watching. I look so uninterested. I know I did because I wasn't even
Imagine.
trying. And so it's a tie between that and a guy that I only went on one date with because he spent the entire time talking about his ex-wife and
Oh
like how
my
terrible
God.
it was. And at the end of the date, like we were getting
That can
towards
be
the end,
awkward.
and so I was like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I know more about your ex-wife than I do about you, and so that's not a great thing.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
he's like, why didn't you stop me? And I said, I tried.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
yeah,
Aw.
I tried to change the topic, and you kept bringing it back to her. So
Oh,
I'm like,
jeez.
she sounds interesting. I don't know what to tell you. But this
Yeah.
was not fun for me.
Yeah.
He's like,
You
let's go
gotta
out
read
again.
the
I was like, I
room
don't
a
think it's a
little
good
bit.
idea. You weren't picking up on my non-interested facial expressions. I'm good. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are mine. But we've all
Uh,
dated the Pierces of
I
the
don't think
world.
I've ever actually dated a Pierce.
Really?
Yeah,
You've dodged
that
it.
sort of
I did
like
in high school and
finance
college.
guy. I steered clear of those guys real quick. You
That
know, I
was
did go out
smart.
with one guy who really tried to impress me with his family's money.
Mm.
Like, I
God,
used to
that
call
just
him.
dried me up like the Sahara.
I I used to refer to him as Tom 200 because he ordered wine at dinner by asking the waiter what wine they had around the $200 price point, and then looked at me like I was going to be super impressed by that.
That is
Ew.
And it was so tacky
as hell.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
It was
ew,
really, really
no.
tacky. And then
No.
he was a creep. I got text messages from him for like months and months after that. I would just occasionally get a text message that said, "Hey, it's Tom. How's your sex life?" And then I finally was like, "Please stop. Just stop."
I feel like at this point in my life, if I am going to date somebody, let me clarify that. If I'm going to date a man, I need to have his mother and grandmother's contact information as well, so that if they send me that book, I'm screenshotting it and sending it to your mother and grandmother to let them know how you speak to women. What they do about that is, I don't care. Maybe they still side with him, whatever. But I want that threat looming in our text conversations, because
That's how
I'm at the
ridiculous
stage of life where it's doubtful that the men I'm dating have a living grandparent.
Well, not the most recent one.
Haven't actually gone out with him yet.
He's just so pretentious, and I feel like I don't know, like I can see why he could be appealing, especially to Cordelia when she's in this
she's
kind
looking
of
for
like
an image.
fragile state too.
Mhm.
But my God, what a douchebag.
He served as the perfect foil for the development that her character went through in this episode, which was like, I thought what I wanted was a nice rich guy who was good looking, and it turns out I care about depth.
Which
damn, that's harder to find.
To me though, that Doyle is like, they treat him as if he's just completely unappealing and nothing.
He's so cute.
He's an objectively like good looking guy. Like, he's not some like giant hockey player looking guy like David Boreanaz is, maybe, but he's still objectively attractive. But it's just like, poor Doyle. Just like,
well, it's also Doyle's personality kind of waxes and wanes a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's adorable. No, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So funny you bring up Angel. One of my points I put down there is, how come Pierce looks like the Temu version of Angel?
Because David Boreanaz is like an ideal human man.
Yeah.
And then everyone just looks like some variation. Every white guy looks like some variation of a poor copy of David. He's like the fit model, right? He's like exact, like his proportions are perfect. He's got this like,
he's got an interesting
angular face, but it's not boring. Like,
like it's not like classically handsome. Like, his body is, but his face is like
it's got a little bit of a difference to it.
Yeah,
just
it's got
enough
character and
but it's symmetrical. He's symmetrical, and he has like a nice jawline, and and it all works. And of course, most white guys are going to look like, oh, you didn't quite measure up to David Boreanaz. Like, it's hard to find someone as good looking as him. Yeah. Although, later on when Alexis Denisof joins the show, I have to say, I think that is also a very handsome man.
Especially like scruffy, disheveled.
Oh yeah, later seasons. Yeah, he gets real hot.
There's the Allison Hannigan effect in there.
Yeah, actually, there is not a shortage of good-looking men on Angel, because we also have Lindsay. He may be evil, but he is quite handsome. And then eventually there's going to be
good
Gunn.
Kind of Texan.
Yeah.
Like, he's the good kind, and I love him.
He's so hot. And then there's Gunn, who's also very good looking.
So and one of the things that I also have written about Pierce is, okay, I did not blame him when he ran away, because at 101 to some of the younger daters out there, the Pierces will always ditch you no matter what. So, like, heads up, and then number two, I don't really blame him in this instance. He barely knew Cordelia, and it was a freaking vampire. I would have ran too. So, I mean, it's not like they were dating.
And sort of internalized patriarchy, especially as it was still in the 90s, tells us that the man should rescue the woman. But I agree with you. A vampire?
Yeah.
And that vampire in particular, that was a super scary looking vampire.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't
like
really,
him, but I get it.
yeah, like it's hard to be too upset with him. I'm more upset with him that he like blathered on about, you know, bean futures to Cordelia over dinner than I am about him running away from a vampire.
Same. Like, yeah,
It
no, I
reminded
totally
me
get it.
kind of that scene in Good Will Hunting where, what's his face? The blonde guy with the ponytail is sitting there like quoting philosophy at Matt Damon's character just to
the
try
apples,
to impress.
the guy who
Yes.
gets the how do you like them apples comment.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we
Where
ever
it's
know that
just
guy's name.
like-
He's just like Harvard
Right.
douchebag.
Douchey Ivy League guy.
TM.
Like, just saying these things, like repeating these talking points that he thinks
Yep.
makes him sound so intellectual
We
and
also
intelligent.
saw that type also in Beer Bad, right? Like those
Yes,
guys who
those
were all
guys.
like, we're college guys and you're a townie and we're so smart because we use big words. And it's like,
No, you're not.
yeah, but you're jerks.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, change
So
change the tire
unattractive.
on my car. And it's
Yeah.
like I can't either, but I don't talk like that.
Yeah.
I don't talk with superiority.
Yeah, but then Cordy has this huge realization, right? She's like, I
Mhm.
thought, you know, I wasn't gonna do a fixer-upper again after Xander, but like Doyle has,
Fixer-upper.
but
I'm
he
gonna date
saved
women
me,
now.
and he had
Yeah.
real depth, and you know that means something. And then I love how she's like, so you'll answer the phones, all right, Angel? I'm gonna take Doyle out for coffee. Like, she's still Cordelia. She's still like everyone exists to wait on me. You know,
I have to channel more Cordelia. I relate to her, but like I want to channel more of her. She has
So
a lot of just
direct.
confidence.
she's
Yeah.
delightful. And then, you know, when Harry walks in and Cordy's like, we're in the middle of something here,
Yeah.
you know, completely oblivious to the fact that there's this immediate like tension in the
Yeah.
room between Harry and
Like,
Doyle.
oh.
And every time I see the episode, I'm like, Sarah Jessica Parker? Oh wait, no.
I
It's
know,
just-
like there was the
she's got-
hair thing in there.
Yeah, she looks like a Sarah Jessica Parker, like her body double or something.
I love how like Angel looks at Cordy when she's monologuing before Harry shows up. Like he just looks at her, and it's not sexual or romantic. He just
No.
adores her and
Yep.
and how
It's
she's
very
Their
brotherly.
friendship is so
Yeah.
pure.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really
very nice
cute.
to see.
I just
because
like put that down. I was like, that's
The
awesome. I just
easiest
love
thing
that.
on like a 90s WB show would be to put the two like crazy hot people together.
Yeah.
And
No
they
matter
avoid
what.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is
And
great.
it's believable how platonic and sweet their friendship
100%.
is.
100%.
I love them.
He's very like protective and brotherly towards her, but he also always has the look on his face like, this is a little bit hilarious.
Yes.
Like here's Cordy being Cordy.
Like,
It's the
pat her
same
on the
reaction
head.
we have, where
Yeah.
we're like, oh, Cordy, she's
Like,
always
you're
Cordy.
fine.
Like there she is. Oh, there it is. There's the shallowness hiding right underneath the substance. Like,
Yeah.
but she's also right. Like,
yeah.
like it's just
And
she's
caring
so
and
smart
loyal and empathic and
and
kind
honest,
and
like
yeah,
deeply,
I love it.
deeply honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cordy is a complicated, multi-layered character, which is why she works.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think of Harry, like as a whole?
Okay. First of all, one of my favorite things about Angel, and later on it happens in Buffy too, is the idea that there are demons living among us who are assimilated into our culture, right? I love that. And I love that she's like studies them, and it's like become her whole life, and that she's like marrying into this, you know, apparently banal, bland family of demons who are assimilated. All of that is like catnip for me.
Yeah.
I find that whole like line of storytelling really fun and interesting. I thought she was a little basic.
Yeah. I like the concept of Harry. And I don't even have anything against that actress. Like, I've enjoyed her in other things, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't grab me here. Like, I forget about this episode so much. I remember it as soon as I watch it. It's like, oh yeah, but I don't know what it is. Like I never really go seek it out on its
Yeah.
own. And I think a big part of it is the Doyle and Harry storyline. I just don't
Mm-hmm.
care when they're on my
Yes.
screen. Like I like seeing how it
Yeah.
develops Doyle's character,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but
But
I don't know. Like I don't find them that compelling together.
I think Richard is a
Yeah.
much more interesting
Yes.
character.
I love watching Richard and
Right?
Doyle
Yeah, they were
interacting.
funny together.
Angel, like that was fantastic.
Oh my god, that was so
And
funny.
he's so polite.
Yeah, I know. And I just wrote down like, when Richard came in, I'm like, Angel's a good
Yeah.
friend. He's a good
Yeah.
buddy. Like he reads it immediately. Yeah, cuz I didn't remember her character. And I haven't watched this episode in like 20 years. And I see why. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a great episode for Doyle, and it's also kind of a throwaway. I think they had a lot of really good ideas that they didn't, like, it was almost like we were hungry and they gave us water. So they gave us
Yeah.
something, but it wasn't filling,
Yeah.
at least for me. Like, I agree. I want to know more about this, like, academic track she has, and what does that mean? And also, it's a little um colonization for a human to take on,
Mhm.
to seek out, study, and then marry someone from the culture that they were
It's a little
studying.
Rachel
It's
Dolezal,
it's
right?
it's very
It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was
Very
like,
interesting.
ooh, like, are they making a comment about that? Like the show? Because I thought that was
I
interesting. I liked it.
yeah,
Didn't go anywhere, but I
I
liked
thought Richard
it.
was a lot of fun, and he had just the right amount of bumbliness
Yes.
and sort of
Mm-hmm.
goofiness without it being caricature.
Yeah.
And I
Mm-hmm.
also enjoyed his completely bland family. Like, they
Yeah.
could not be less interesting, which is hilarious for a family of demons.
That was
Like,
funny.
they were
Like the
so
whole like
middle of the
charade.
road.
Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole like ritual eating of the first husband's brains and then charades and they're like, wait, what? And
I know.
what they're
So
freaking out
like
about is charades. It's like, oh, you vanilla little family.
Yeah.
Richard screamed douchebag to me immediately, and I remember that from when I first saw him too. And it wasn't the fact that he was a demon. It was just, it was almost like, what is it
His
called when someone like
voice.
overacts a stereotype? Did you say what?
Well, I mean,
I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's not
he just
inaccurate.
seems like a
um
goober. Like it's almost like that
yeah, like
Wally Cleaver, like Eddie Haskell
he
vibe to me.
so yeah, like when I watched him, he reminded me of that character in the Buffy season 2 that turned out to be a robot, the
Ted?
the Ted
Oh,
episode.
yeah. Ted.
Yeah. He reminded me of like
Yeah.
where it's like they but that's what the culture
Yeah.
was, right? Like that was America's dad, is to have that kind of over effusive
Mm,
goodness
Yeah.
aura to you that was also kind of
yeah.
boring. And so like I was just like, "Oh, you seem like a douchebag. Like you seem like you would cheat on your wife or something."
Well, it
I don't know.
turns out
But I did it.
brain eating was on the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gross.
So, but yeah, I was interested with him, and yeah, his family was so adorable. I loved that playing off of
And the
it.
whole, like,
Did you guys get?
bachelorette party thing with the, or bridal shower or
Oh
whatever,
my
where they're like, we're gonna do
gosh.
X-rated Pictionary. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, my nightmare.
I know.
Like,
Oh my gosh. Oh, the penis
Oh,
straws. Oh, the
jeez.
penis straws. So many, so many. And oh, the alcohol. I think my liver still remembers those. Um, the 818 area code is the San Fernando Valley in
mm,
LA. I actually looked it up because I was
Nice.
like, let me see if they are accurate. But it's, of course, it's Angel and Buffy. Of course, the show is
yeah.
great. So the 818 area code that they use is in the San Fernando Valley in LA, aka the Valley, which I think we've all
Mhm.
heard about. And it also has a reality TV show going on
It
right
does
now
indeed.
called, you guessed it, The
Ugh, of
Valley,
course.
filled with other dead
Yeah.
souls.
Seriously.
um and then kind of along those lines, and But where I just wrote down, I was like, don't worry, Doyle, half my family are demons too.
It's so true. we all have our own familial demons to battle. It's true.
That's so
It's
funny.
just generational trauma made physically apparent. That's all that is.
I love that. So true.
All right, my
true.
favorite thing, and it's not unique to this episode, but I love whenever they have Angel stalking someone, the way he does it from rooftops.
Yeah.
Because so many shows are a little bit claustrophobic, and it's so nice to see like sky in an urban setting. So the camera's always pointed up to show Angel on rooftops. It's like a cool vampire thing that he does. And the coolest looking part is when he just dead drops off the roof. Like he just like steps off and drops down with no sort of trepidation or anything. I just think it looks really, really cool. And it's one of my favorite things about Angel in general. It's just like when he stalks people like that. I think it's really cool.
Good. He's a lot better at it than like Joe and you with his little baseball cap and hiding behind a tree.
Well, they also picked that up in Underworld.
Yeah.
So and another show with vampires and werewolves. A lot of the vampires do that cool like stalking from above and then easily dropping down onto the pavement. I feel like Angel and Buffy kind of really hit the stride with that of that sort superhuman agility that kind of impresses us from just a physics standard.
I'm assuming like Buffy and Angel universe vampires would have impeccable superhuman eyesight. I feel like they never really talk about that.
It's a good point.
I'm assuming they do.
Good hearing.
Yeah, and they can smell.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Better.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming their eyesight is also very good. Even
Yeah,
though
it
I'm
must be.
imagining that scene in freaking Twilight where
Oh God.
Bella, wakes up and is a vampire and she just like zooms in to like the threads on the carpet and all the stuff. So I don't know how much that is clouding my vampire lore.
No, I'm sure that they do have great vision.
Talk about the Timu version.
Yeah, Edward is Timu
so
Angel.
Much hate mail now.
I know. Hey, we are on the record for saying that even though Twilight is dumb, we love it.
It's
so
true.
don't at me, bro.
It's hilarious.
I prefer True Blood. Blood. That's my rewatch.
Fun. Yeah, True Blood is also delightful.
Also fun and
in different ways. It's fine.
What did you guys think of? Because this is another thing that really stood out to me is Doyle consented to having his brains eaten, but it was not informed.
No, that didn't count.
Which is very important.
It did not count at all.
Yeah, like he said yes, but he didn't realize what he was saying yes to. And also, consent is an ongoing process, Dean.
You can revoke it. It's like
that was tricksy and uncool.
Right.
Which was sort of the point that Harry made, which was so funny, where she was like, and you were going to do this without even talking to me about it? And Doyle is like, excuse me, like, would you have been okay with this if he had talked to you about it first? Like,
just like, wait a second.
Wait, like, the eating my brains part, like, that was not enough for you to be mad? Like, it had to be because, like, the whole thing was so funny. It was a huge moment for Doyle, though, to realize how badly he had messed up his marriage, because when he found out he was part demon, and Harry said that she was okay with it and would work with it, and he didn't believe her, and he finally realized, like, she meant that when she said it, and he's the one who ruined his marriage. And he regrets it, and he had this whole process that was actually good for him throughout the bachelor party of coming to terms with that, and also being like, I do want her to be happy, so I want to release her to be happy, and if this is what it takes, I'll do it. And, he said at one point, like, now we both have a chance, like, her to be happy and me to let her be happy. And I was like, oh, it's such a beautiful moment of growth for Doyle. It's too bad that then there's going to have to be this really ugly scene and the fighting and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like you gotta throw that in. But that's such a great point. I mean, like psychology PSA for this episode, you can't hold other people's boundaries for them. You can only hold your own. So, we don't get to decide what other people can tolerate and what they can't. All we can do is
Well, and
believe
it's that
them.
self-fulfilling prophecy almost, where if you don't,
Mhm.
like, he doesn't have that security or confidence, if he doesn't think he's worthy of that, then he's
Yep.
going to act like he's not
Mhm.
worthy of that and drive her away. And I was like, this is
There you go.
actually a pretty poignant episode if you
Yeah.
really dive into it. I mean, overall, it's fun and kind of
Yeah.
silly to watch, but
Of course.
that's a big, heavy realization
Mhm.
for Doyle to have.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Which
then they
is-
have that great moment at the end when Cordy says something like, about him being a nice guy. And
Aw.
he's like, you think I'm a nice guy? And then she goes,
I think it, I say it. It's my way.
and I'm like, yep, that is the one thing about Cordelia that we can all
Very
agree on.
Cordelia.
That she's
Yeah.
not going to say something just to be nice.
No.
Ever.
Especially not to a
Yep.
man.
Especially not to a man that she thinks
feel
of
you,
as a
Cordy.
fixer-upper, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's gonna,
Yeah.
like,
Like,
any
oh,
compliment
Doyle.
you get
Yeah.
from Cordelia is an honest one. It's like
True.
the time
Yeah.
that my 6-year-old neighbor told me she liked my outfit, and I was like, if a 6-year-old girl tells
Yes.
you they like your outfit,
They mean it.
You
you
gotta.
are crushing it.
You gotta.
Because they do not
Exactly.
mess around.
That's true. Or a
No.
drunk lady
Nope,
in
nope.
the bathroom.
Or your therapist that is straightforward and transparent.
Yeah.
Like, it will absolutely call you out on it. I'm not as blunt as Cordy, but I'm pretty close.
You're a very direct
I'm like,
person.
I don't just bluff.
It is very true.
For better or for worse. I just always check if it's my stuff first.
This episode also features another clip that has made its way into the opening credits when Angel enters back to the party after the brothers like threw him out a
Yes.
window, which is
Yeah.
intense. He like blows in through the doors, and I just, because of the other podcast I'm on, have to compare it to Aragorn entering Helm's Deep
Yes.
when he opens the double doors, and
Yes.
it's two absolutely fantastic moments of like badass dudes.
I
Like, being
remember
badass.
Aragorn
Mhm,
seeing that
and
in
music.
theaters. I think it was like last day of 7th grade or something, and I was like, whew, what is this? Like,
Is this my sexual
Same.
awakening?
yeah,
I was
Yeah.
like, I was gonna say, I'm like, how many other people watched that and got
yeah,
the
it was
tingles?
interesting.
You're like, ooh.
Oh, that just reminded me of that clip that's been
the David
the David
Boreanaz.
Boreanaz clip
Yeah.
that's going around the internet where somebody
Yes.
asks him,
Yes.
what does it feel like to be so many people's gay awakening? And he's like, I'm just glad people are awake. Like, he's totally fine with it.
I'm just glad to be a part of the
Like, it's
process.
great.
I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
That was
Detoxifying
Yes.
like masculinity. You are like, no, I'm just glad to be there.
That's
Thank
great.
you,
I
sir.
think
I love
if
him.
you're
Oh.
a handsome man who's been cast in a role of a handsome man where you're constantly being like presented as handsome man on TV all the time, you have to come to terms with being a sex symbol pretty early
Yeah.
on, right? You can't be weird about it.
And also for men.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
had, unfortunately, some male celebrities have some pushback
Yeah.
on that.
They don't like it
unfortunately.
that men
I'm
find
like,
them
they're-
attractive, and it's like,
Yeah. And it's like, guess
Sorry.
what? They might be the only ones who find you
Yeah.
attractive in a couple of
It's-
months. Like, if you keep
yeah.
talking like
but the way
this.
that he just sort of,
But-
the way that DB fielded the question, like he
Yeah.
was just like, oh yeah,
So
that's so fun. Like, he was fine. It didn't even phase him a little. And I love this man in real life.
love it.
I just think he seems, I mean, I
Yes.
don't know him, obviously. Although I do have a friend who used to work out with him at the gym. Very,
Was he nice?
he said he was
Did he
nice.
say
He
that
didn't
he
know
was
who he
nice?
was. I was watching Angel
God.
on TV, and he walked in the room and he was like, hey, I know that guy. And I was
It's
like,
like,
you
I'm
know
sorry,
this
what?
guy? This guy right here? And he's like, yeah, that's DJ. We spot each other at the gym. And I'm like, you work out with David Boreanaz? And he's like, sometimes. And I was like, can I come?
Can I come? Can I go work
Yeah.
out with you?
I know. I'm like, was this before or after? I mean, honestly, like he's been in Hollywood so long, and the only blemish on his very public record that we know of is that he cheated
gonna
on his
say.
wife when she was
Yeah.
Oh,
pregnant.
I forgot about that.
If she forgives him, I feel like, but there wasn't any like domestic violence or like, and I'm like, if she forgives him, what's my business?
Yeah.
Like, so that's the only thing in like almost 30 years of being in the public eye would come
Yeah,
out.
and he's been on
So I'm like,
prime
I'm
time,
game.
like highly
Yeah.
visible TV shows, and all of his co-stars
Multiple.
talk about him
Yep.
in like glowing
So
terms.
kind.
People
Yeah.
love him.
Absolutely.
If he was a jerk, it would have come out
And
in some way.
It's
Like, I
because
think
he's
it's
a
real.
witch. That's
absolutely.
why.
Yeah, he is a
Yes.
witch. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I really liked in this episode the reminders that we get that vampires are ostracized in the
Oh,
underworld.
yeah.
Like like look at you twinsies.
Like the demons are like, ew, a
They're
vampire.
like, you brought a vampire to the bachelor party? I'm like,
It's like the levels of demonology racism.
Yeah.
yeah, it just always cracks me up that in a world of demons and undead, there's not racism,
That's what made
sexism,
me
but there
think
is
of
speciesism.
True Blood. I was just
Yeah.
like, this is appropriate.
And so I have a question of, if they ate a vampire's brains, would it kill them? Like a beheading? Because remember, they were like, at first they wondered if Angel was the ex-husband that they
I
were
bet
going to
it
eat.
wouldn't.
So I'm like,
If they just
would
ate
that
their
kill
brain,
them?
I bet it wouldn't kill them. Unless they ate
There is
all
an
of it.
episode in like season 4 or 5
they
where
wouldn't have
someone
any
is
motor
like
function.
experimenting on how far you can like hurt a vampire and keep them alive. And I don't know if they ever get to brain eating, but
It's interesting.
Darn.
it's interesting. Like, would it
Wimped
like
out.
because he has like they've
If they
established
ate the
on
whole
Buffy
brain,
that he heals himself, right? He heals quickly.
Yeah.
So would like
Yes.
would
can
the
he
brain
regenerate
grow
a brain
back?
stem?
That seems unlikely.
Like,
yeah, like I'm
if
not.
they
Like, what part
only
of
ate,
beheading
like
actually
their
kills them?
prefrontal cortex, then they'd be fine because then their motor functions and everything wouldn't be affected.
Well, would they just be like a zombie then? Like,
I would assume
blood.
so.
But wouldn't it grow back?
Would it?
Maybe
though?
eventually. I don't know.
Can they
I mean,
like,
it's not
all
like
their
there's
other
a
stuff.
reference that we can
would it just heal?
consult.
Like, so when they heal, like if you get staked but it's not in the heart, does that portion, like if your rib gets chipped, does your rib grow back or does it just heal over it?
Yes.
So it's fine.
Nope. They've. I'm pretty sure like it'll all grow back, and it's like it's interesting. 'Cause it's like you can tell.
Or is it just
like,
the healing
listeners
process
some of you
sped
are the
up?
Walking Dead
Yeah.
fans. Like the Walking Dead fans are like, but you have to get it directly in the head. It can't be like a sort of
Yeah.
half brain shot.
Yeah.
Like you have to get it all in the head to
But
to
don't
kill
worry,
the
the heads
walker.
are really squishy. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a
yeah.
problem.
Oh, on
And if you don't
Walking
get the- if you
Dead,
don't get the
yeah,
brain-
they're just like
Yeah.
it's like butter knife to the skull and it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't
Well, listeners, what do you
I don't
think?
know, yeah. Let's see what our listeners think are the ways that you can kill a vampire if you dissect its brain while it's still alive. That's interesting
Yeah.
because they dust.
And like, can you take out some of its brain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because we know beheading kills them, but is it the whole brain that has to go,
or is it
yeah,
just
so
disconnecting
We'll never know for
the
certain.
brain
But
stem? Like,
yeah. So, what do you guys think?
interesting.
Bringing it all in.
Huh.
And then my last point is the quote that I had to rewind because I thought I heard
God.
it wrong. Is who wants a wife whose knees only bend
Yes!
one way?
I love that. I was like, that was so funny. I was like, wait a second.
So,
He said it
so
so
dirty.
matter of factly too. I was just like, God, that's good.
So dirty.
Yeah, it is dirty and
That
hilarious.
was funny.
Oh my god.
What about you today,
I
babe?
really enjoyed when Richard was telling his family about Doyle and he said he's really very sweet. I think you'll all enjoy him. Like just the
Yeah.
double entendre there.
Uh-huh. That was cute.
That's a good
That's a
one.
really
I
good
didn't catch
one.
that one. That's
And
a
then
good
of course
one.
there's this moment.
What's this? You said get a utensil. This is a shrimp fork. He's going to eat the guy's brains with a shrimp fork? Well, pardon me if our ancient ancestors didn't leave behind any former husband brain-eating forks. Get a soup spoon, you moron.
Bear with us. We're a little fuzzy on the
I
etiquette.
did love that.
Oh, that is hysterical. That's so
his brothers
funny.
were the worst, right? Because they thought Angel was just a human, and they were
Mhm.
fully willing to murder him.
Yeah, just no problem.
Joke's on them that Angel is a vampire and came back, but like they threw him out of a second-story window. Like a human would have died or been very, very seriously injured by that. Like those guys are the worst. They're even worse than Richard, who was
like
willing
how-
to eat Doyle's brain. Like I think the brothers are worse.
Oh yeah, they're like just disposable, and it's like makes me worried for like Harry to marry into that
I
family. They
know.
clearly don't respect
Yeah,
humans.
I'm so glad that they
Bad.
broke up at the end because Harry
That was
deserves
good.
better.
Yeah, I would have worried for her. They were so casual about it. And as a side note, I love that Loki is giving you the
I know,
one
it's like,
eye.
oh, thanks, Loki.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
It's like, dear God.
Yeah, Sam's kitty cat has entered the conversation.
Loki.
Also named
Also named
Loki.
Loki,
She's
yeah.
like but yeah, it's such like a like that's a good point. I would have worried about her and their kids if she wanted to have kids with him. That would have been very like they were just so casual about just murdering a human. And I was like, oh boy, this isn't a good environment.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Oh, there was another great line earlier, way earlier in the episode when Cordy's gone out on her date and then Doyle gets a vision of some. First of all, he says it's a kid. And then when we actually see the person who's being trapped by the vampires and who's about to be eaten, he looks like 36.
Oh,
I'm like, that's not a kid. But anyway,
that doesn't
he's,
look like a child.
yeah, he says, poor
Are they-
kid's going to be the entree.
Yeah.
And then he says, everybody's got dinner plans except us.
And it's like, I mean, Angel, yes, everyone's going to be a child compared
Compared
to
to
a 200-year-old
Angel, but like he
vampire.
looked
True.
like he was possibly the same age as Doyle. I was like, what are you talking about, kid? That is not a child.
I know, and that puts in dating and like big talk for someone who dated a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
like if you think that one's a
Yeah.
kid,
Like, yeah. Ugh.
you think that person approaching middle age is a child?
The full adult.
We have to have a talk.
Exactly. All right. Anything else on the bachelor party? I think we're good.
No, it's just fun.
Good.
Yeah. So at the end of the bachelor party, Doyle has a vision, and it's
Dun, dun.
Buffy, who he has conveniently earlier in the episode seen a photo of, so he knows who it is.
Yeah.
And she's in some kind of vague danger that sends Angel to Sunnydale. So we flip over to the episode Pangs, and we open with this groundbreaking ceremony at the university that was the whitest thing ever. And there's this anthropology professor who makes this speech, and it is so offensive.
Just
And
a
it's-
smidge.
Well,
Yeah.
quick just quickly before we get into
Yeah.
that it was the opening scene with Buffy in the courtyard.
Oh, right. First she
Like,
has a vampire
fighting.
fight. Yep.
Yeah. And so I put like a little quick note on that. Nice twist on the dopey dude being a vampire. Call back to season 1. And nerds get to be vampires and villains
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
So
Equal opportunity.
I appreciated
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I appreciated that. I thought that was like a cool thing. And then nice to know that Angel slid right back into his creepy stalker thing.
Very
But
easily.
that Buffy felt it.
I
love
Yeah.
that she was like, something's weird.
yeah.
She
like-
can sense him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her Slayer senses are tingling.
I don't know, like yeah, I've never dated someone where I would enjoy if they watched me from the shadows without my knowledge. Like
Yeah.
it's just like I guess it's supposed to be cute and romantic, and
it's
it just doesn't
creepy.
seem appealing.
No,
to me.
It
she's-
is creepy.
She's not going to be happy about it when she when we get to the next episode. And she wasn't always happy about it when they were dating still. Like there were a couple of times in season 2 where she was like, and season 3 where she was like, following me again, like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Icky. So
It's just
yeah.
the weird
But sorry,
like,
yeah,
Well,
the-
specific thing about
especially
dating a
because
predator.
Angelus. Like when he was Angelus, he would watch her
women.
sleep and he like sketched her sleeping. Like it was this whole huge threatening
Creepiest
thing. So that's why I love it when they're in front of the coffee shop and he grabs Willow and she's immediately like, "Oh, you're evil. You're evil again."
Yeah.
She's like, "No,
all the evils.
don't worry. He's lurking for good reasons now."
Yeah. And then at one point Anya's
yes.
like, what is he like when he is evil?
I know.
Like,
I love it.
like-
After he like snaps the guy's neck.
Yeah.
And she's just like, damn.
Like,
I love Anya.
I know. It's like, welcome, Anya. Welcome to the
She
fandom.
feels
so, yeah, the digging.
seamless. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
like I
so
want to
good.
see Xander dick.
Yeah, like it's oh my god. So like now knowing so I didn't know watching it the first round. I found out from you ladies that Xander was supposed to be like the avatar for Joss Whedon, and now every time Anya's making these weird comments about Xander just being a regular human, I'm like, ew.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. Like, yeah, the one thing that is nice about it though is the subversion of a man is being objectified sexually constantly.
Yes.
But it's a little bit of a male fantasy
also,
at the same time.
Well, because Anya
it's not
is
reversed.
stunning.
Like,
also, like
she's so beautiful.
Obviously, Xander, like I do like his reactions to her. Like in this one when she says, "Okay, I'm gonna take your trousers off now," when he's sick, and he's just like, "You're a strange girlfriend." Like,
yeah.
he still has to adjust to Anya being Anya, but she's drop dead gorgeous. No one's gonna be like,
and
"Oh,
she's
stop."
kind. Well, it's also like I mean, I think we run into this quite a bit, and I bet that was what they were going for too. And it's just like psychology has articles and stuff about this. There is no reversed Uno card of women hitting on men
It's
and it
not the
being
same.
equally as threatening. It's just
There's not the
and
history
so
of
like
violence or the culture of oppression. It's just
Mm-mm.
different.
no, there's what the comedian Josh Johnson has a bunch of great bits about that, and one of the things he says is he's like I mean I'm summarizing. He says it in a much funny tone and with all of his skills and everything, but he essentially says he's like, even if women started killing the bad guys,
Yes!
you couldn't do worse than men killing other men and women. And I'm like, that is scientifically accurate.
It would take centuries.
We're not encouraging murder.
Centuries of women being in a more powerful position to start to come close to what men have done to women.
Well, yeah, but like even then, like even in societies that are more matriarchal in nature, we're not seeing it.
It's not something women do.
It's just a bit. Yeah, it's like biology, community, empathy, like all this stuff. It's just sort of the way we're not just built biologically, but also socialized, and how we are. There's so many experiments out there on social media about women working together versus men working together, and so like it's a part of it. So, but yeah, I get, because I bet you're exactly right. That's what they were trying to do, is like turn Xander's own actions against him with someone he's dating.
He loves it.
It's never gonna be like it though. Yeah, it's never like you can feel like objectified. It doesn't come with the threat and the dehumanization.
It's purely done for humor. Like there's nothing.
Yes,
there's nothing threatening about it. Even though Anya used to be powerful, she's no longer powerful, right? So
she's been neutered as a vengeance demon.
But I do like that with this episode, I feel like she's become a member of the gang. Like she's transitioned over. Like she and Buffy and Willow are hanging out together at the ceremony. Like it looks like they went there together to see Xander's thing.
Yeah.
And they do make a crack later where they're talking about the Thanksgiving, and Willow's like, we could not invite Anya. And it's like, no, that's not an option anymore. Like she's part of the group. Like it just isn't.
This episode in particular is like my personal halfway point of the series, because it feels like new Buffy, new Scooby Gang. It feels like the beginning of that, especially like, I like the writing in it. in that they have Willow just kind of not so subtly draw parallels to her situation with Oz when she's
Yeah.
talking to Angel, and it's emphasizing like, yeah, he ran away, like running away is not the best option, but it feels like a turning point in the series to me. And
Yeah.
I love this episode so much.
I mean, so the the second scene is this groundbreaking scene, and the professor who gives a speech, I'll play it so we can all talk about how forking problematic it is.
And that's why it's appropriate that the groundbreaking for the UC Sunnydale Cultural Partnership Center is taking place so soon before Thanksgiving, because that's what the melting pot is about. Contributions from all cultures, making our culture stronger.
I mean, all right, first of all, Thanksgiving and the melting pot are two separate things. The melting pot was huge in sort of propaganda from the government in the 70s and 80s. It was this message of like, America's the melting pot, all these cultures come here, and then we get to pick and choose the best parts of them and keep them for ourselves. It's absolutely horrific, and
it's like assimilate or else.
Cultural appropriation all over the place. And then starting in the 90s, there was this huge push for what, it was a new term at the time, multiculturalism, and about respecting other cultures and not forcing people to assimilate. It became a real talking point. And then they started being like, it's not a melting pot, it's a stir fry. And I remember at the time being like, why do we have to cook?
Oh, I know.
Does there have to be cooking? Like, these are human beings. And then it became like, oh, it's like a tossed salad. It's like, why is it always food?
It's like, don't use that one.
Yeah, it's all creepy. But the melting pot is the worst of them. It's the worst. And I, as a kid, I got this message constantly. And as a kid, I really believed it. And it took a long time to deprogram myself from this belief that, like, as an American, our culture is whatever we want to take from all these other cultures. Like, that was what was taught to us. And I was like, no, we have to I have to unlearn that and stop thinking that other cultures are mine for the taking, which is like the worst white woman thing ever. And it was hard to undo it because lots of other cultures are really interesting, and I would love to have parts of those cultures be my culture.
Right. Well, you think about it's like a virtual, or like the British Museum, and how much the British were like, "Oh, thank you, I will take that, and I will take that." But it just, there's that sense of entitlement and superiority where it gets really white supremacist.
It's so colonial.
It's
it's so uncomfortable. And why is Buffy wearing a cowboy hat?
Oh, the worst. It's so ugly. Also, everything Anya wears in this episode is hideous. Like,
I know.
Hideous. It's like brown patchwork, like hideous. So
this
Willow gets to be the voice of like, you know, the melting pot is bad and all this stuff. And she gives this whole speech. And then Buffy's like, you're channeling your mother. And Willow's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, this is another problem that we still have, which is that when someone is passionate in defense of other cultures or minorities or oppressed people, they have to like apologize for like upsetting the white people for it. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry that I wanted to point out that you were being, culturally appropriative. I know it's offensive. I'll just be quiet now. Like there's this like, it's impolite to point out these things, belief. And
she's the quote unquote too woke friend.
Yeah. And it's like, she's not even that woke. Yeah. And like, it's just, I started saying politeness kills many, many years ago. And I think it's sort of an appropriation of silence equals death, which was a big phrase in the 90s around AIDS activism, because there was a lot of silence when AIDS was first an epidemic, and it was like, don't talk about it. That's gross. It's about gay people. Blah. And I think that politeness literally kills people, because the number of times that and I'll just use my own experience, some man has been creepy to me, and I've been like, oh, ha, 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 no, thank you. Instead of being like, get the you-know-what away from me, because you're, especially women, but everybody is socialized to like, don't like call people out on their bad behavior. That's rude. It's like, no, they were rude first. Like, match their energy. And this generation of young women now, like kids, are being taught, like, if a if somebody is making you uncomfortable, you don't have to be polite to them. And it's like revolutionary. And it's such an obvious thing. Like, if you think someone is a creep, you don't have to be nice, but like, we weren't taught that.
Nope.
Well, and it's also, we're getting a whiplash effect of women not being polite and being murdered.
And the backlash of like so many
beaten
young
with
men
a brick,
like turning to the far right and the whole like your body, my choice thing. And like, I mean, it's the anger on the part of like American white men at the idea of women no longer being like, please don't rape me, is like, it's visceral and it's intense.
It's wild.
It's wild to watch.
And,
as a 52-year-old woman,
I
don't feel like I'm as at risk as I was at 22, you know? Like, I'm just not the same amount of target. But I'm also not like at bars and clubs and places where I'm going to meet random men. But like,
we know
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. You are more likely to be raped by someone that you know than you are a stranger. And so it's everywhere. And I will say, I have had some wonderful male allies really be public and open about it. And it's probably most of you are listening to the show. But like, I was so incredibly disappointed by the men in the United States when this guy, I mean, he's a young adult, but he's coming out chanting, "Your body, my choice." And the men in this country didn't say, "Excuse me?"
They were like, "Oh."
like they were silent. They were silent. Nothing's going to get better if you guys remain silent. This is your problem too. And there is a famous country star who put out a song that it made me cry when I first listened to it. And we can put it in the show notes because I've never heard of him before, but he has a fan for life in me, where he puts out a public response in his song to "Your Body, My Choice." And he talks about how he's like, we didn't raise you boys well enough. And guess what? If you come after one of our sisters, you're going to be beaten down because you don't get to treat women like this. And this is a celebrity putting his career on the line.
But it's sad that he stands out so much, right? Because because when it was Nick Fuentes who started that, and when he said it, the silence or the like, oh, don't pay attention to him, that we got from supposedly like lefty liberal men was deeply disappointing. And you know, there were definitely some out there who were like, that's disgusting, but it was treated as a joke, and it's not, because there are a lot of men who were like, finally we can rape women with impunity. Like, that's what they wanted.
It's that boys will be boys mentality that is still perpetuated.
Well, and also, like, silence equals violence. So the fact that the men, and it was in our podcast community too, like, the men were largely silent about this. Not saying like, hey, what is this? Like, completely silent. Yeah, this is never going to change. Like, it's like, and I know that they don't agree with this. So it's like, hey, guys,
there's
come on.
This perception.
Like, all you gotta say is, what is that?
There's this perception that misogyny is a problem for women, which it is. But that therefore, women should be the ones who talk about it, and women should be the ones who address it. And that supposedly nice guys or liberal guys should just like step aside. And to a certain extent they should. But like, it's a problem for men as well. And I firmly believe that nice guys benefit from the existence of monster guys, because by comparison, 100%. They look amazing when they're just barely enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that they get to go around being like, well, I would never rape someone. Like, that's a huge accomplishment for them as a person.
I know, it's like,
or like, I would never hit
neither,
you,
bro.
Like, I never beat up a girlfriend. What I love, like, oh, good for you. You know?
Yeah. Well, like, what I love is when I hear that from guys, I go, me neither, bro. And they just look at me. I'm like, do you see how stupid it is to say it? Like, yeah, no, if I thought for any way, shape, or form you'd ever do that, I wouldn't be near you.
There was a
guy
not that long ago that went off, like, we were all at a bar and went on this little tangent about how much he hates people who take advantage of women and who hurt women and who sexually assault women, and was looking around kind of being like, okay, where's my cookie?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah,
good,
no.
you should. Like, I don't know what you want
So
from this conversation.
so the artist is called Joel Adam Russell, and his song is called "Knock the Boy Out of You."
Oh.
Because he's like, real men don't like, will real men fight for equality for women. I'm gonna knock the boy out of you. And this is what we need. Like, I obviously, so don't go around beating people up. But and at the same time, that seems to be the only language that these men speak is
Yeah.
violence. They're making
Yeah.
threats to rape women and going to colleges. It happened in Texas with the chance of your body,
Yep.
my
Yeah.
choice. And so it's like, yeah, we can use a little bit more of that in there. But so that leads me to something that so is very passionate, like a big passionate cause of mine. It has been since undergrad. We know about the inequality of the indigenous people who lived on this land far longer than any of us did. And all of us who are here that are not of indigenous descent, we are immigrants. We are
Or
visitors to this
colonizers.
country.
I feel like those are
Yeah.
two different categories.
Yeah. A little of both.
True. We are immigrants. We are immigrants that became colonizers, but like really kind of picking up on their own argument of no, unless you are of indigenous descent, you are an immigrant. You may not have been brought here by your own free will, or your ancestors were not brought here by your own
Yeah.
free will. And then the immigrants became colonizers. And the show talks a bit about how the ear removal of the enemies is a myth. It did happen to a degree. It has been largely colonized to create an us versus them with the indigenous people. You can take a look at the dehumanization that the West has done with the indigenous populations. They did it to a degree, but it far predated European setting land here. And it wasn't, not everyone who was scalped or had their ears removed were murdered, and all this stuff. So I'm glad that they addressed that in the show. And the Chumash Nation actually is a part of where Sunnydale would be if it existed. But the Chumash people did exist in Southern California. And the Chumash people were, there's no readily available information or credible sources to suggest that the Chumash people even participated in ear removal. It was not as widespread as a European culture and American culture
Oh,
has
I
made it
thought
out
that
to
the
be.
point of the show was that it was the white people who were doing the ear removal to prove that they had
Who were the actual
killed the
Yes.
Chumash, because there was
Yeah.
like bounties put on like killing Native people and like, and
Yeah.
so it was like their proof, like turn it in,
But
the
we
ear
had
get
to paint
$100.
them as the quote unquote savages. Like
Yeah.
that.
And
Well, this is a thing
and
that
the
I
sh-
have been angry about for months now, because of the Last of Us got me all riled up about this, is that when there's a group of a lot more power and more sophisticated weapons, and then there's a group that is fighting against them, that group, the second group, is often characterized as savage, brutal. The way that they're fighting, when they're fighting with sticks and rocks, is often characterized as barbaric. While, the other side is so civilized, they're using missiles and drones and like machine guns. And apparently that's civilized, and it's barbaric to fight back with like knives and machetes and sticks and rocks. And
The
it's
more
just
you
such
dehumanize the violence for some reason, then
yeah.
it's more civilized.
It's very convenient for the people in the position of more power to characterize, people fighting back against oppression as being savages. They love that. It's like, because then all of the people on the powerful side are like scared of those people, and it dehumanizes them, and it makes them the enemy even when they were originally the victim. And it allows the more powerful side to paint this there's bad things happening on both sides picture.
It justifies their reactions. We're still the good guys because
look what they did. They cut the ear off of this woman, and as a revenge against how many of their ears were cut off. It's like you got to go back a step.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, anyone who doesn't look into the history of things and understand it fully is speaking out of pure ignorance.
And convenience. Right?
And it's like, and absolutely. And you want to look at accurate history, like critical race theory. You want to take a look at especially our history. And it's something where, like, The Last of Us, he's the writer director is one of my people. He's an Israeli person, and when I remember looking that up, I'm like, oh, that
Yeah.
explains it. I love my people, but we got some blind spots in us. Um, but the Shumash people, I wanted to talk a bit about their complex and rich culture that I think I didn't pick up on in the episode. So it made me want to go and actually take a look at them. Just really briefly. I mean, I encourage you guys to go and look it up. There's a lot of indigenous websites. But they were really known for their advanced woodworking and seafaring. They built elaborate canoes. They were skilled artisans and renowned for their intricate baskets, their shell bead money, and rock art. So I looked up of like green. Why is there like green mist and stuff like that? It was something that they used. They mostly used other colors, but green was something that they brought in, as well as red. They usually primarily use black and red, but that was something that they could bring in. Their spiritual beliefs and rituals are something we've heard about. The worldview encompassed a belief in multiple worlds, and the power of shamans were really using plants like datura for spiritual and medicinal purposes. And their social structures are very similar to hunter gatherers, along with important feasts and dances. There's nothing in their history to at all ever speak about that they were this warring tribe that would, they're looking for revenge and all this stuff. So it's something that they seem to be really big into artistry and rock art in particular. Datura, the natural medicinal purposes and plants. I have a friend of mine who is an indigenous person, not from the Chumash tribe, and I remember we were talking about the latest genocide on indigenous people that was going on, and I said, yeah, we should give the country back to your people, and he said, but we don't own this country. No one owns this. No one owns land. It is.
Yeah.
So you're either the caretakers of it, the visitors of it, that you care for everything, but you don't own it like property. And that was just such an awakening to me of just how far we've come in American culture. Of like, wow, yeah, that's actually a better way to live. You don't own people, you don't own land. You like oil for food, like we were just talking about. Like the idea of you don't own this, you're here to take care of it, is just such a better world in all of it.
The understanding that other people live differently than you, that other cultures have different practices that maybe, seem abnormal to you or seem unusual, like that's such a big issue, especially relevant now, even more so, I feel like, is this othering of other cultures or people that we're not familiar with. And it reminds me, it's probably done in like every intro to psych or intro to anthropology class at this point, but that reading of the piece, the body ritual among the Nasarima, where it's written for people who haven't read it. It's written from the perspective of an anthropologist studying this culture and these body rituals and what these Nasarima, what these people do in the morning and in the evening. And it sounds kind of barbaric and intense until you realize that it's describing the everyday like hygiene habits of an American.
Yeah.
And I loved that one so much. And it hammers the point home. Like it's all about perspective. It's all about, what and what is normal to you may not be normal to somebody else, but it doesn't mean it's savage or barbaric. And this episode,
Anya points it out, right? When she's like,
yes!
"Oh, I love a ritual sacrifice," and they're like,
love
"That's not
that.
what Thanksgiving is." And she's like,
that's
"You
exactly
commemorate
what it is.
an event by killing and eating an animal. That's ritual sacrifice." And
I was like, we
That
even
did
have
make me
like
laugh when she said that.
a formal pardon of a turkey by our leader. Like, come on.
It's gross, actually. It's disgusting. It's also like I am not Catholic, and every time I think about the belief that they are actually eating the body and blood of Christ in communion, I'm like, you really believe that? Like, really? Like, that is so weird that you think that that's okay. I saw this great thing on the internet where somebody was, like, educating their child and getting them ready for their first communion, and the kid goes, "After how many communions have you eaten a whole Jesus?"
I love it. That's
and I was
amazing.
like, interesting perspective from a child. Like, it's
That's
gross
so
to be
There you
eating,
go.
like, it's
You're
one thing to say you're
cannibalizing
symbolically
your
eating
savior.
Christ.
Yeah.
That's creepy enough. But then there are people who believe that, like, through the process of communion and the blessing from the priest, that you're literally eating the body and blood of Christ. And I'm like, ew. Like, how is that
But
okay?
well, I wonder about that with religious psychosis a lot. Like, how normalized it is to a certain extent, especially where I am out in West Texas, of people feeling as if God speaks to them.
Directly, yeah.
And that can create a lot of issues. I saw it a lot in the criminal system where there was this hesitation. It's like, oh, well, they're just, it's this deep religious conviction. And how do we know if God's talking to them or not? I was like, I feel like this is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, and it just, it's fascinating.
I like how the older creatures on the show bring up the hypocrisy of it. Like, they've been around like Spike's like, you did it, you won, suck it up. Like, this is what you're, and like, obviously he's a monster with no soul. It also, like, I mean, I felt it, I guess, in watching this in 2025 felt a lot different than watching it in 1999. Not just I'm older, but the world is really different. This country is really different. And to me, when I first heard that, like, I laughed because it's Spike and he's not wrong. And also, like, words mean nothing. Like, what you're just saying, like, I shouldn't say words mean nothing. I think it was helpful for Willow to say it,
but
also, like, you need to do something.
And at the end of the day, they do end up killing the spirit of vengeance. Right? Like, after all of that, she really didn't want to, but
no.
And I think it was a valuable discussion that they were all having, and of course, they made hay out of it with, like, it was funny too. There was a lot of silliness that got mixed in there, but I do think it's a valuable thing to bring up. It's dated because it just is dated, because I think that we're more sophisticated now when we talk about appropriation and native cultures and the history of genocide. But I also think it's still incredibly relevant because there is this dilemma of, like, okay, we can't just, like, give them back the land. So what are we going to do?
What do we do?
What do we do?
Well, when Willow says, well, if we could talk to him, and Spike is like, you exterminated his race. What could you possibly say that would make him feel better? And I was like, that is a good point.
Yeah. The thing about Spike
we need Spike to say that to most of the U.S. right
The thing
now.
about Spike is he may be evil, but he's incredibly honest.
He is emotionally intelligent too.
He really is. He reads people and he enjoys reading people, and he uses his powers for evil. But he is very good at it, and he sees things very clearly. And they used to have Cordelia. She's moved over to the other show, so they need another truth teller. And to a certain extent, Anya is. But it's really Spike who takes over that role that Cordelia had of being like, what's actually happening here is X. And because James Marsters is so just excellent in this role, he makes it lovable. It's so amazing that he's this lovable, evil demon vampire guy. Like, it's the weirdest
I love him
combination.
So much.
He's so good at it.
I know. We're
like,
giant. So,
I just have to say,
I should probably, like, preface this for everyone who's listening. I think you guys know we like Spike as a character. Would I be friends with Spike or date Spike as he is right now in real life? No, absolutely not. I'd go running so far away.
I'm
the fact that there's a
red
TV
thinking
screen
about
the fact that there's a TV screen between me and this person, and we can talk about spoilers later for it. But no, I find him very compelling
great
because James
character.
Marsters, who is a delightful person,
Yeah.
also he is a very
Well, and
kind person
the
and
writing
empathetic and
you-
emotionally
You bring up an
intelligent.
interesting point, which is there's a theme in the episode. Riley and Buffy state it outright, which is home is a place that when you have to go there, they have to take you in. And then we get cut directly to the scene of Spike trying to go home to Harmony, and Harmony feeling her power, kicks him out, and it's a wonderful
90s
scene.
self-help, women's empowerment vibe. It was like, what book
Honestly,
did she
I was
listen to?
Yeah, I doubt she even listened to a book. I think she probably read some book jackets.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
it was definitely not in Cosmo. It was how to please your man, not how to hold boundaries with your man.
It was fantastic scene of him being like, well, before I go, can you at least give me someone to eat? He's so desperate. And then he hilariously shows up at Giles's apartment, and it's so funny when Buffy opens the door and sees who it is, and he tries to come in, and she just shoves him back.
Yeah, it's like,
it's
no.
such a great moment.
Well,
he's like,
and
please.
And he's like, I'm suffering. And she's like, Giles hands her the wooden spoon, or the steak rather, and she's like, want me to make it faster for you? I was like, thank you. That is how he's supposed to be dealt with.
I feel like the writers, I don't know what the writers just seem to come alive more in the second half of season 4, and for whatever reason, these characters are really gelling. And it's just, they get so cheeky and clever. I love, obviously, Angel talking to Giles, and they talk about how, they feel kind of icky not telling, or Giles does, not telling Buffy, and that juxtaposition of Angel talking about looking in on what he can't have, to the shot of Spike shivering like some sort of Dickensian street urchin,
with the rattiest blanket in the world over his head.
I know. They're
looking at the
him look so
vampires
pathetic.
gathering around a warm quote unquote meal. I was just like, God, this is
was
good.
so funny. It was like a Christmas story. He's
the little match girl or something.
Like, come on,
he's cold in Sunnydale, Southern California. I'm too cold, even though I'm a vampire and I can't feel temperature. Just ridiculous scenes.
I know. It's so good.
So
it's so
because
good.
once he gets to Giles's,
so
I'm like, oh, let Spike in. Just let him in. He's harmless.
I just have it written down, Spike looking in the window at the Fang Bang going on, and I'm just like, how is this supposed to be
but it
sad?
is sort of.
It is kind of sad. He's starving. I was like, boy, get yourself to a blood bank.
Yeah, it's oh my god. And then we get the delight of Spike being a prisoner in Giles's apartment, right? Buffy ties him up, and he's like, "You're cutting off my circulation." And she's like, "You don't have
circulation."
He's like, "Well, it's uncomfortable." Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then his running commentary, because he's just there in the room with them, and he
funny.
just offers his perspective on stuff. I don't know why they didn't gag him, because he's so annoying, but he's delightful at the same time.
Well, I think 'cause he was just so
You made a
funny.
bear! I didn't mean undo it! Undo it!
Wait, I have that, of course.
He was
so good.
He was, oh yeah, please play it. That's amazing.
Undo it.
A bear! You made a bear!
I didn't mean to.
Undo it! Undo it!
It's so great.
beautiful.
So
Angel
James
says
Marsters said that he's like, what you guys don't know is that I was actually tied to that chair in
With a
the
bear?
set with an actual bear. He's like, that fear is real.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, who was his agent that was like, yes,
Yeah,
this is fine.
terrifying, so scary,
it.
but also so funny.
Really didn't care about him. Gina was like, we'll make Spike disappear one way or another. Who said, I didn't write down who said it, but someone said a fresh one? Atrocity?
Oh yeah.
And I did laugh.
Oh, it's when Willow shows up with a whole bunch of books and frozen peas. And Buffy's like, these are frozen. And Willow's like, whatever. And she's talking about whatever. And then Buffy goes, I thought you were going to get fresh ones. And Willow goes, atrocities? She's like, peas. Buffy's dedication
Yeah, it was
to the
the
Thanksgiving
it was
dinner
so
throughout the
funny.
episode. She's like, I don't want to
love
have to
it.
be the Slayer until after dinner. Like, let me. We have mashed
This
potatoes
is
to
the
make.
most relatable I think I've ever found Buffy, because this is me around the holidays or anything where it's like if I
so
am
funny.
stressed, I can control, or I think I can control Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or having the perfect Halloween party or
Yeah.
like I will put all of
Aw.
my energy and then it usually ends up not going perfectly.
you
Yeah, because you can't
can't.
control
Well, I
everything.
mean, end up having these, revenge spirits showing up.
Yeah, that's never
If you
happened to me
ever
though.
wondered,
So that's good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yet,
yet.
never. It's just yet. Especially in
I know.
2025, it's yet. Um, if you've ever wondered what Thanksgiving with me is like, I'm Willow, or I guess Willow's mom. That's me
That
at
checks out.
Thanksgiving. Like
That
that
makes
has
sense.
been me for like the past 20 years. Like it's a joke in my family. One of my uncles tries to see like how much he can get me to like rage text about how we murdered the people who tried to help
That's
us
really funny.
when we landed
Seriously
here.
though. Oh, you're
Don't
teaching
ever
us
help
how to
strangers.
grow corn? Why, thank you. Here's some syphilis.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, well, no, not well, not even. It's we're going to die and you're
Well,
going to
yeah,
save
that
us
too.
because you value life. You'll regret
Yep. You should have just let us
that.
die
We'll
from our
repay
first year
your
here in Americas.
Yep.
Horrible.
We will repay your kindness with
Yeah.
genocide.
It's
So
funny. For many, many,
so much
many
fun.
years, Thanksgiving was my favorite holiday. Not because of anything having to do with the meaning of Thanksgiving or the history of Thanksgiving, but because it is a non-gift giving holiday and a non-church going holiday. And
That's
so
legit.
it was the only holiday that didn't cause like
Food.
deep strife in my family. Right? It was like we get together, we eat,
Fair.
we go to a movie. Nobody has to choose a gift for anyone else that's going to be insulting. Like, we don't have to weirdly go to church when only some of us go. Like, it was, and it's a short holiday. It's like it's like a little weekend and then you're done. It was hard for me when I had to like realize all the problems with Thanksgiving. And I was like, damn it. That was the only holiday I didn't hate.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can always retake it. Like in my family, they now no longer give thanks. You wouldn't know it's Thanksgiving except we do the food and we all get together and eat. Which in my family, we're just
I
getting
mean,
together
you might
and
as well just
eating,
call it a Seder.
which is a time to
Yeah,
I
celebrate.
don't think we even
Yeah,
recognize
a
that it's
Seder, a
Thanksgiving.
mini family reunion. Like we have our relatives from Canada coming in and
There's
stuff. Like
football,
there's really nothing
and there's
Thanksgiving
board
about it.
games, and there's food.
Oh yeah,
and
we
we
always
don't
played
even.
Clue. I also thought it was
So speaking
dated.
of families,
Just that this
go
this
ahead.
was 1999 before the concept of Friendsgiving became like super commonplace.
I know.
And it's like Buffy kind of invented
I love
Friendsgiving.
Friendsgiving.
Yeah, it's so cute. That's such a good point. Yeah, it was the Friendsgiving. And speaking of which, this all kind of fills in with that. They say again, Xander always seems to avoid his family
I know.
gatherings. And I just wrote, no follow up
No.
there,
Poor
ladies.
Xander.
Like,
Check on your friend.
you guys all know I do not like Xander, but dear God, everyone's like, domestic violence in
Yeah.
Xander's house, and just
know.
completely
Just rampant
ignores it.
alcoholism and constant trauma, but he lives in the basement. It's fine.
Look, Buffy is kind of a terrible friend because she's the main character in a
She
TV
is.
show.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's loyal. But like, yeah, if you want that sort of, you
She
gotta
only
actually
really
bring it
shows
to
up
her.
for her friends in moments of extreme crisis. There's not a lot of maintenance.
Yeah.
Right? Like
No.
if
no.
Xander's parents like threw him out of the house physically, Buffy would show up for that. But like just yelling and screaming and like being drunk all the time, like whatever.
No, I don't think she'd respond well to that at all. And then, so I laughed a little bit at this quick note. This has almost nothing to do with the entire episode, but it resonated with me as a woman. When Xander said that the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, that his symptoms didn't connect, and my first thought was, "Aw, welcome what it took
Don't
life
worry,
to be a
it's
woman
Maybe
going
it's
to a
menopause.
doctor."
It's just anxiety.
Yeah, maybe you're
It's
pregnant.
probably
Maybe you're
perimenopause.
fat.
Lose weight. Here's some anxiety
Yeah.
meds. Yeah.
That time.
Maybe have a baby. Don't have a baby.
Endometriosis.
We'll
It
see.
takes 10 years to diagnose that.
Yeah, like
Oh
what
my
are you
God, I'm
talking
gonna put
about? I'm like, Xander, you get no
I'm going to put it in
sympathy
the
for
show
me.
notes, the absolutely brilliant music video of We've Never Really Studied the Female Body by I Love Faraday.
Oh,
I will put that in the show notes.
This is accurate, people. This is accurate. And yeah, no, they're just starting to have all this stuff out there, and
I loved when
yeah,
Anya was like,
there's
I was going to say smallpox. Like, she's so delighted that she recognized it.
I know. She's like, I gave a man that once. I'm like, I kind of.
And also,
adore
she's
you.
from another time when smallpox, like, she lived through the era before we, vaccinated for smallpox, so she's seen it firsthand.
Yeah. And so are we nowadays, apparently.
Why eradicate diseases
Because now
when
that
you
we
can
have
have so-called medical freedom? That's the new word they're saying.
Yeah, and then like, oh no, they're coming back up again. And so I just have an image of like a vengeance demon 100 years from now being like, COVID.
Yeah.
Like, I just like we're gonna be here in 100 years,
yeah,
humanity.
that's
But yeah. And then I have the people in charge of the digging are about as accurate with their digging plans as they are about their history. Like no one scoped it out. Like it wasn't even that deep when Xander
it's like 2 feet.
It was
a completely empty room.
like no.
Can we
one
talk
would
about
do that.
how Xander falls? Also, the way his arms go up
Like
in
a
the air
cartoon.
it's so exaggerated. I don't know why I find it so funny.
It's so funny.
There are
I
a lot
watched
of
it like
It
5
was like a
times.
cartoon.
There were a lot of
character.
like physically funny moments in the episode, like when Angel like broke all those bike locks so they could steal those bikes, and then them riding across the campus on the
That was
bikes when Buffy's
adorable.
like, "We need backup," and then it's like do
Yeah,
with the people on the bikes.
With the music.
So goofy, so hilarious. And then when Buffy and
Oh my
Giles are
God.
under attack, and Angel
Oh, yeah.
calls, and Giles is like, "Yes, we're
Yeah.
aware of that."
Yeah.
Kills me every time. And Buffy's like, "Who was that?" And he's like, someone.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry about it.
She doesn't even have time. Doesn't even have time. And then
That's
I mean,
so good.
so this is towards the end of the episode, but they have Spike. This is actually one of the last scenes. They're all this at the end. They defeated the vengeance person, and then they're all sitting at the table. I love that they put Spike.
Yes,
at the table,
but he's all
like,
tied up.
Gonna eat Thanksgiving dinner.
He has to be there too.
And then like he's not eating. So but I thought it was very funny that they put him up
That was
there, and then
cute.
when the ball drop, well the second
Oh,
shoe
yeah.
drops, and then Xander lets it. Of course, Xander like lets it slip that that Angel was there. They all look
And he's
surprised,
smirking.
and then Spike's grin. It's like you.
That is
little
one of my
dipshit.
favorite
like that.
images in the entire
good.
series is that shot
Yep.
of all of them looking at Buffy like, uh-oh, she's
Yep.
gonna be mad. And Spike is
Oh.
like, I can't wait to see what happens next. It is such a great scene. I also love that the table centerpiece that Buffy has put on the Thanksgiving table of like a pilgrim or whatever it is has still an arrow through it. Like they didn't take the
Yep.
arrow out. They just left it there.
It's
Yeah.
accurate.
Festive.
Okay, so yeah, did Spike know that Angel
I don't think he
was
did.
there?
I think that was a surprise to him
Or
too.
did he just find out at that moment? It was
He was like,
You
oh,
think
this
he can
is good.
smell him? Why would he not be able to smell him?
Well,
Can't they
Angel
smell?
was
Did they smell?
outside of the apartment, but he had been inside before
He'd
Spike
been
got there.
around. Yeah.
I don't
like,
know.
would
I feel
ass-
like if Spike had smelled him, he would have been like, "Why does it smell like Angel in here?" Like I
I
think
think scientifically speaking,
My mind went to
Yeah.
dirty places.
I think scientifically speaking, he could smell him, but it would be terrible for the plot of the TV show if he always could tell that Angel was around.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to say because I know in other shows they can like True
Right, they have like psychic
Blood
connections
and
in
also
some versions of vampire lore.
yeah, like or like and like other species can smell vampires and stuff like that, like in your show, the Twilight.
Your show.
But like I don't I don't like Twilight. But they like that's a good question though. I don't know. I feel like we've been surprised. Like sometimes they know when someone's a vampire, and sometimes
Maybe
they don't.
he just
Like
wasn't
I want to
paying
say
attention.
like other
Maybe
vampires.
because he was so
so
starved.
hungry.
Yeah, he was distracted. And then a
It
bear.
dulled
That's
his
true.
the bear.
Yeah.
I love that.
The
I'll do it.
bear.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That is amazing. And then so the last two things that I have is okay, one of them is how many arrows do these spirits have?
Endless.
Infinite. Yeah.
Because they're
So
spirit
many
arrows.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many arrows. And I actually like wrote that down. I'm like, they seem to not it's like what's his face in the Avengers.
Oh, Hawkeye, yeah.
Hawkeye of like he seems to like have so
Well, it's
many
like
arrows.
bullets
It's
on
just it's
TV
spiritually
shows
powered.
too. They'll have like a magazine that
Right?
might fit like 12 bullets, and all of a sudden, it's just like
Until it's
20
convenient
shots
for the plot,
later.
and then they're out of
Yeah.
bullets.
Yeah. Yes. And then this is more of a
Yeah.
question. Why is the episode called
Guilt
Pangs?
pangs. Pangs of
Oh,
guilt.
lots of reasons.
And hunger pangs.
Yes,
Oh.
Spike's hunger pangs, the pangs of guilt, the
Oh.
pangs that Angel's feeling looking in on Buffy and not being able to have her, and Willow having pangs, like pangs of guilt mainly come in, but then also feeling like Oz ran away from her.
Yeah. Lots of pang.
That's true. That is thank you. Because I got to the end of it and I'm like, I don't get it. And so I'll just ask
I was
the
like, that's
experts.
where the English major
Thank you.
brain
There you
will
go.
take over.
There you go. And then I had one thing at the very end, but I want to finish up the episode. What about you,
I wanted to
ladies?
just talk real
Let's
briefly
see.
about one of the themes that they talk about, mostly between Giles and Buffy, is the difference between vengeance and justice. And I think that a lot of people get those things confused. And it's the sort of basis in Western culture of like, you know, the criminal justice system and putting people in prison. And I often am like, what is the purpose of prison? Because it seems like it's punishment and vengeance and not to prevent crime or rehabilitate people who have committed crimes. So the episode touches on it. It doesn't get all that far into it because, you know, it's not, you know, it's not a whatever, but it's an important thing to think about. I think that we get confused a lot in our culture about the difference between those two things. And there is something that Giles says, which is true, that like you can't, and also Xander says it, you can't like logically argue with or resolve vengeance. When someone is on a vengeance path, they're not open to the logic of like, that's not actually going to solve anything. And this has come up in Buffy before, right? Because the gypsy curse, that gypsy being a problematic word, I know, that Angel has is a vengeance curse, right? And they even say, like, they argue about it. Jenny Calendar and her uncle argue about it because she's like, why would you have the curse be that when he goes back to being evil? And he's like, it's not, it's vengeance. It's about pain. It's not about making things right. And it's like,
don't come at me with logic and reasoning.
Yeah, and I just think it's something important that we all need to have in our heads is that vengeance and justice are not the same thing. And that when something bad happens to you as an individual, you may want vengeance, but our systems should not be set up to deliver vengeance. There's a reason why our criminal justice system isn't like, you're guilty, now the victim gets to kill you. Like, that's not how it should be. And I do think that a lot of prison and the way that we let prisons in this country exist in absolutely abhorrent conditions is because there's a thirst for vengeance, and people think criminals deserve to be miserable and be punished, and it's so self-defeating because it doesn't make less crime. That's my soapbox for today.
And No. I love that point, Penny, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's going to come up again in future episodes when one of our fan favorite characters is going to make a reappearance.
I know what you're talking about.
In
All right,
yes.
let's talk about that in the Watcher's Diaries.
Yes.
Yes. So like the idea of vengeance versus justice, I think that's such a great point, and I think a lot of us don't think enough about that. And when we look at justice and what we want from that, it's so very different because at the end of the day, your loved one isn't coming back. Your pain isn't going to go
Yeah.
away. So the idea of like, what is justice? Because that, I mean, an eye for an eye kind of thing would be your loved one would still be alive. And many people have said, like, when they've gone through the court systems, they're like, I don't feel any better. It's like, yeah, because it wasn't about that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so, all of the things and all the contributors to crime and everything like that. I think the criminal system in the US is one of our largest failings, especially when you look at other countries. We shouldn't have the biggest for-profit
We shouldn't have
prison system.
any
That's a different
for-profit
conversation.
prisons.
But like, yeah, yeah. So it's in if something's for profit, we are taking away the justice aspect of it. And we just want to like act with anger, and anger is the bodyguard emotion. And sometimes it's justified, a lot of times it's not. So it's, looking at the different venues for that. So I like that you brought that up because it was passed by in the episode, and I feel like they were introducing it for something that comes in later.
I think it's an
and I think it's really
overarching theme of
important.
the whole Buffyverse because it
Yeah.
comes up repeatedly. And
Well,
it's
and
an important concept.
There's a lot of it I mean, with heroes and different iconic stories over time. You think about it in terms of, I don't know, even Star Wars or Harry Potter or
Daredevil.
Oh yeah,
Daredevil's a great one.
And Buffy, and this notion especially of, well, we can't become like them. We're not like them. So we have to take the high road. And then I think back to what's that quote, that Buddha quote, like holding on to anger is like drinking poison expecting the other person to die. That's how I see vengeance, which is also super relevant to The Last of Us right now. But I love that you brought up kind of the 4 theories of criminal punishment, because that's something I used to voir dire on all the time in jury selection.
What is
so
voir
like
dire?
jury selection, it's voir dire in places that are not Texas. Texas says voir dire.
I don't even know what that is.
But it's
I'm like, what is these fancy terms, you Latin
it's
speakers,
picking
you?
a jury. But if I had a case where, for whatever reason, I knew someone was guilty, but let's say I knew that they had an underlying drug problem, and if they didn't take my offer to go to drug court and do probation and like kind of seek help, if we went to trial, I didn't want them locking this person in prison. So I would survey every single juror and ask them what they thought the purposes of criminal punishment was in the justice system. Are we trying to get retribution? Are we trying to deter future behavior? Are we trying to rehabilitate someone? Or are we trying to incapacitate someone and remove them from society? And you can tell a lot about a person based on what answer they give to that question. And it would help me get my jurors out of there that were just like, retribution.
Yeah.
Blah, drugs are bad. They need to go to prison. I was like, nope, no thank you.
It's very Old Testament, right? This idea that
yes,
of vengeance.
eye for an eye.
It's deeply, deeply embedded in Western cultures. A sort of, white Anglo culture and Christian culture is this idea of a vengeful God and therefore vengeful humans, and that vengeance is somehow like righteous. And I can understand on an individual level a desire for vengeance, but the fact that there's a systemic desire for vengeance baked into our government systems upsets me on a level I can't even express, because it makes all of us into murderers, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's I think we really love the binary of like
as
either
humans,
or rather than the shades of
right,
gray.
good people, bad people.
Like Yeah, especially if we're dealing with emotional stuff like
Yeah,
loss
we
and
know
grief
that
and
we don't,
anger and
as a
sadness.
people, don't do very well with nuance.
Yeah.
That has become
We
abundantly
do
clear.
not. We and just heads up, like there are some things that are right and wrong. Like most stuff done to
Yeah.
kids, wrong. You know, like we there's certain right or wrong. Some extremes. With the with outside of that, if people are really like in extremes of people are good or people are all bad, it's usually
Yeah.
trauma based, and that's emotion mind. It- Racism, sexism, xenophobia, that's all emotion mind. It's not logic
Yeah.
mind. It wouldn't be, because logic, facts, and science say that everyone is more equal than not. So like the isms are actually based on emotional beliefs, which are not facts, they're just emotions. But people act on them. So the idea of this vengeance and how do we do all this is so much more complicated than what our emotions are
Yeah.
telling us. Your emotions are cues for you internally. It's not meant to go out and act on them necessarily. Like, let's pause. That's the hardest
Yeah.
thing. And also, Kara, as you were describing the voir dire, I was like, no wonder I never get selected for jury duty. They're like, oh no, no
Look,
therapist.
no,
Thank
they're
you.
not gonna
You'd be
want
so
like, and it
annoying.
depends on the case and also what they're wanting. But yeah, it's so easy to get kicked off a jury.
I mean, you guys just heard my spiel about the justice
Yeah.
system, the so-called justice system. They're like, and out.
The only way I ended up on a jury was because I was so far down the list that they had used up all of their exclusions by the time
Yep.
by the time I
Yep.
showed up, and they were like a lawyer. Like
Yeah,
clearly they didn't want me on the jury, but like there I was.
That's fantastic.
It was great. I loved serving on a
What-
jury.
what-
I was
what-
so excited to have that perspective
I
on the
want to
system.
be on a jury so bad, but I'm especially not gonna get
What's-
picked out
all
here.
my
No, you're
all
not
my
gonna get on it.
coworkers were
You
so
lawyers.
jealous. They're all like,
I know.
it's the weirdness
I
of
would be
working in a law
jealous.
firm is that like all the other
Yep.
lawyers were like, you got picked for a jury. Like I had been like invited to the Oscars or something. They were so jealous.
That's so
It was
funny.
like weird.
I can see why they wouldn't want lawyers on there. They'd be like, you already know how the sausage gets made.
Oh
to
yeah,
quote
and I spent
Hamilton.
the entire
Like,
time on the
they don't want you
jury
to know
being thoroughly disgusted by how incompetent the defense attorney was. I was like,
and
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
why they don't want you on.
Yeah.
I can't blame you. I mean, I like that would be the same thing. Like whenever I see
Yeah.
psychologists.
I love this episode. There are some problematic things about it. Like there were a few things where I was like, "Oh, that's dating it." But overall, like this is one of the most fun
It's fun.
episodes of Buffy. Like if I'm going through and picking maybe like 10 fun episodes to watch, this is on there. And I love
a bear undo it.
Yeah,
just
undo it.
elevates the episode to the fun factor so high. It's
And Anya, like it's the beginning of so many things that I love about this cast, and Anya like wanting to see Xander like digging and sweating, and she's like, soon he'll be sweating. I'm imagining having sex with him again, and Buffy and Willow at that already are not even phased. But what does Buffy say? She's just like, imaginary Xander's quite the machine.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Like it's already such a good show, but it's about to get so good.
Yeah, I'm excited about what's coming.
One of the things that came up for me when I was watching the episode that is super close to my heart is the missing and murdered Indigenous women. And whenever there is something about Indigenous people, it always like resonates with me about this population. And I'm gonna try not to cry as I talk about them, because it's they're women, they're us, they're our sisters, they're a part of us, and they are being left behind. I originally heard about missing and murdered Indigenous women and the movement to get them justice, to get them hope, to get them help, to just get them voices and have their voices be heard back when I was an undergrad. And they're the only people in this country that we don't keep statistics on. So for some, like, not for some reason, I guess it makes sense. It makes me really upset that they're so invisible we don't even track them. So it's really hard to know. Like, we keep the statistics on white women that go missing, on Black women, Latino women, Asian women, South Asian women, and missing and murdered Indigenous women just disappear, and like no one's tracking it. So I've been involved with the nativewomen'swilderness.org, and we can put it in the show notes. Indigenous women and girls and non-binary spirits as well are murdered at 10 times the higher rate than all other ethnicities combined.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's really
That's
awful.
awful.
And murder is the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women, according to the Centers for Disease Control. More than 4 out of 5 Indigenous women have experienced violence. It's 84.3%. More than half Indigenous women experience sexual violence. More than half Indigenous women have been physically abused by their intimate partners, over 55%. Less than half of Indigenous women have been stalked in their lifetime, so 48.8%. And these stats are from 2016 because it's the last time that it was studied.
Wow.
Those stats are insane.
Yeah, Indigenous women are 1.7 times more likely than white women to experience violence. Indigenous women are 2 times more likely to be raped than white women, and murder rates of Indigenous women is 3 times higher than specifically white women. And
I mean, I knew the statistics were bad, but that
it's
is shocking.
That's very
it's
stark.
really, really awful. And this, I mean, as of 2016, again, like the last time this was really officially recorded, 5,712 cases of missing American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls. But our U.S. Department of Justice only has 116 cases.
That's
So
wild.
no one's even looking into all these women that are being reported missing by their families. There's a lack of communication with the jurisdictional issues between state and federal and the reservations. But these women are just forgotten. These women and girls and Two-Spirit people. So I encourage everyone. We're watching this great show, and it's about female empowerment and female power. And these are women in our country and in Canada that are just being hunted and forgotten. And there's a lot of really great documentaries out there. We can also put it in the show notes of One Feather from Canada has a list of 5 films and TV series about missing and murdered Indigenous women. The Road of Tears is one of them. Highway of Tears, Murder in Bighorn, Taken, Finding Dawn, Alaska Daily. There, we need to know. This is the first thing that helps end this, is that these women are just missing, and no one's looking for them but their families. I think about the Gabby Petito murder and how awful it was for her, and 100% was awful. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, other people were bringing up how, like, Black and Latino women don't get that kind of coverage.
No
one even knows.
Pretty
Think
blonde
about
women.
that.
Yeah,
Natalie Holloway.
Yeah.
Way back when.
Absolutely.
Sparked
and
similar
missing and murdered
conversations.
Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people don't even have anyone looking for them, not even law enforcement. And so it's really, really awful. And I mean, we can trace it back to the substance use and poverty that are associated with the reservations, but really they're Americans too. They're our people too. And the only people who are going to stand up and actually use our power is us listening to this. I mean, we're 4 women.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're leaving them behind. One of the movies I recommend for people, it's technically fictional, is Wind River. It came out in 2017. It's the film with Elizabeth Olsen, John Bernthal. It's technically fictional, but it's based on true life. I will say, heads up, trigger warnings for everyone. These movies and documentaries are really hard to sit with, and for me, I consider it necessary to do this work. I can't
Thank you
stop
for
it,
doing
but I
that
wanna help.
research and
Yeah,
bringing that
for sure
to the podcast. I think it's really important to use whatever platform we have available to us to spread awareness of injustice. And that's what this is. It's just one version of injustice that we should all worry about and care about.
Thank you.
Well, and it's always tempting to kind of, and we've talked about it, being so overwhelmed that temptation to kind of put your head in the sand and just stay afloat.
Yeah.
But it's always good to have a reminder that there is still so much work to be done, and that we are still in a position of privilege.
Yeah. 100%.
sure.
And well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to bring this in. And it's something I've been very passionate about, and they deserve
This is
better.
why I love podcasting with you two, because you're wonderful humans on top of having great taste in TV shows.
Right back at you, lovely.
This is
just
quite
a
the
good
mutual
time.
admiration society we have going on here.
It's true. We can make it worse and more uncomfortable, listeners.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Yeah. You should see our text chats.
That's true.
There's a lot of love and a lot of mutual support going on there.
Yes. This is how we
Oh, man.
thrive and make it better.
Yeah. But it's true.
All right. Well, this feels a little bit shallow, but let's move on to pop and not so pop culture references. We're going to do these in two chunks, one for the bachelor party and then for Pangs. So we'll start with the bachelor party.
Okay, first up, Cordelia's lovely date, Pierce, is said to be wearing a Giorgio Armani suit, which is, of course, a popular Italian luxury brand. And Cordelia would have to throw that out there.
Of course.
Of course she would. Pierce is also said to be driving a luxury coupe Mercedes-Benz CLK 320. Cordelia has champagne taste for sure. And we see the car. It is a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, it's a nice car.
Speaking of champagne taste, Cordelia also mentions being kept in blue boxes for life, in reference to the famous packaging of the jewelry retailer Tiffany & Company.
So much money.
Yeah.
Ugh. And in this episode, Harry ends up teasing Cordelia by telling her that Doyle came up with the charity song "We Are the World" back in 1985, which I love.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
God, that's so iconic from my youth. That "We Are the World" video with all the different celebrities coming together. It's
so good.
So good. All right. At the bachelorette party, the women in attendance play a pornographic version of the classic game Pictionary.
That sounds fun.
Sounds about
I could do
right.
that.
I mean, there was no Cards Against Humanity back then, so they had to
Right?
make do.
Yeah.
Finally, we get an ESPN reference when we learn that Richard's uncle is a big fan. Go Sports! Did you give that to me on purpose?
Yes. I also added the Go Sports just for fun.
That's really funny.
That's so funny. That was
This
good.
one's
I
for
appreciate
Sam.
that.
That's perfect.
I appreciate
I didn't
that.
know ESPN existed that long ago. That's funny. All right.
Did.
Yeah, moving on to Pangs.
And Pangs, we hear Willow, in referencing the absence of the dead anthropology professor's ear, say, "What if it was self-inflicted, like Van Gogh?" Vincent van Gogh is clearly an incredibly famous post-impressionist artist, notorious for having cut off his own left earlobe in an attack of dementia. Van Gogh had a history of physical and mental problems and eventually ended up shooting himself and cutting his career as an artist short. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Van Gogh was kind of one of those artists that is infamously made famous posthumously.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't very successful when he was alive.
That's why that
just so
that
sad.
Doctor
Like that
Who
Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, the Doctor Who
That's
episode.
right.
We're such
That's
nerds.
God, that's a good one. We should watch that again. That is a
so
good one.
Makes me cry
It's
every
one of the best.
That's right. And then he goes and he sees everybody looking at his art. Okay.
Makes me
Yeah.
cry
I
every
remember.
time.
Yeah, that's a really good one. All right. Buffy says, it was more like a Riot than a Ralph's. Ralph's is a supermarket chain in California founded by George Ralphs over 100 years ago.
Staple.
Buffy. Straight up, black hat tied to the train tracks. Soon my electro ray will destroy Metropolis bad. Black hats is a term for bad guys. The train tracks thing refers to the bad guys in old black and white films who would tie the female lead character to the train tracks. And of course, the good guy would save her just in time. The Metropolis thing refers to Lex Luthor from the Superman media phenomena, who was always trying to destroy Superman. Metropolis is the fictional city in which Superman lives. Did you give me that one on purpose too? It fits.
I was like, Metropolis is hard. It works. Oh man. And then what little we do see of Riley in this episode, Riley says, "What's the line? Home's the place that when you have to go there." And Buffy responds, "They have to take you in." And to be exact, the line is, "Home is the place where when you have to go there, they have to take you in." And that is a line from Robert Frost's poem, The Death of the Hired Man. And we can link that poem in the show notes. Robert Frost is kind of an American staple.
Yeah, poet laureate, etc., etc.
Yep,
Famous
just a smidge.
from New Hampshire. Riley also says, and I know that you're thinking, it's like I grew up in a Grant Wood painting. And Buffy's reaction to that is like, oh yeah, Grant Wood, like I know who that is.
My
Grant
reaction
Wood
as well.
Grant Wood was an early 20th century American artist who was from Iowa, just like Riley, who painted mainly regionalistic landscapes and portraits, though he's most famous for the painting American Gothic. You know this painting, it's the long-faced couple.
Yeah.
Farmer couple, one of them's holding, the man is holding a pitchfork and there's a farmhouse behind them. And also an image called Arbor Day was quite famous. It's more like what Riley is talking about.
If he had said like Norman Rockwell, that I would have been able to picture in my
Norman
head.
Rockwell
but now
was
that you
from
say
Massachusetts, so Grant Wood makes more sense.
Yeah, I was like, that, okay.
It's a deep cut. He was just trying to see if Buffy knew about Iowa culture.
Which of course she does not.
Iowa culture.
As all Californians are taught. Buffy. Very manly. Not at all village people. Cue the 90s homophobia. Yeah. The Village People are a musical group formed in the 1970s in which each member dressed up as an American icon. A cowboy, a Native American person, a cop, a soldier, a biker, and a construction worker. It's so weird. They're probably most famous for their song Macho Man and the YMCA and their association with gay culture. What would it be nowadays?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, the icons that they would
the
dress
American
up as?
icons that they would dress up as.
I mean, there would still be a cop and a cowboy, I bet. But, I mean, construction worker, that's also pretty timeless. But
maybe like a baseball player.
Yeah, or like I was thinking something with football or American football.
Yeah.
And
sports.
Yeah, some kind of athlete. Maybe like a rock star.
Yeah, maybe a guy with a briefcase because everyone thinks that's fancy. Like the suit briefcase thing.
Yeah, but if they were being like really real about
Finance
American, there'd be like some migrant farm workers and
tech bros.
Silicon
Tech Valley. Silicon Valley. Everyone has cell phones in their hands. Yeah. Everyone has their cell phone in their hands. Yeah.
Oh god. And of course, this is another reason why I love Spike. He's just well-rounded and well-read.
He's had 150 years.
He should be. But when he's talking to Willow and talking about, conquering nations, and that's just what conquering nations do, he says that's what Caesar did, and he's not going around saying, I came, I conquered, I felt really bad about it. Julius Caesar, of course, was a Roman general and quite the conqueror in his time. And the Latin quotation of Veni Vidi Vici, meaning I came, I saw, I conquered, is often attributed to him. So Spike is playing off of that saying.
I'm pretty sure that is a Shakespeare creation.
Probably.
Veni Vidi Vici.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
It's a little too neat.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like Spike would know who Grant Wood is.
Yeah. Spike
Probably.
is very, very he pretends to be sort of like
he's a poet
rough
for
and
crying
punk,
out loud.
but he's very cultured.
Yes.
Punk is cultured.
Yeah, that's true. But he pretends to be sort of like he puts on this like working class British, like I don't care about anything attitude, but he actually is this gentle, well-read poet.
He's like cosplaying young Giles.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks is cool.
Yeah. He's Johnny Rotten is who he's trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
Xander, when he's trying to distract the bear, says, "Hey, Gentle Ben, over here." Gentle Ben was the title character, if you can call a bear a character, of the 1960s TV show of the same name about a boy and his tame bear. It starred Clint Howard, who is, you probably know this, Ron Howard's brother.
I didn't know.
Gentle Ben is referenced multiple times in the Buffyverse.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
Like
I thought about Ben's rice, and I had no idea what Xander was talking about.
Oh, that's Uncle Ben. That's hilarious.
Funny.
Yeah.
I was like, "What is happening right now?" I just went with it, Xander.
Oh, that's funny.
And Willow said, 2 seconds of conflict with an indigenous person, and I turned into General Custer. Aw. Willow, 2 seconds of conflict with an indigenous person, and I turn into General Custer. Willow is referring to General George Armstrong Custer, who lived from 1839 to 1876. I thought he was... The pictures of that guy? He's less than 40? Oof, they aged
I think
rough
war
back then.
ages people.
Yeah, they didn't have skincare back then.
Yeah, he's a rough looking
And
dude.
Dysentery.
That's true.
The sun.
Evil. Yeah. No, he wasn't evil, but he fought many winning battles against the Native Americans until his death at Little Bighorn, where he and every soldier under his personal command were killed by the Sioux. Oh no, poor him.
Well.
Yeah.
Well,
Oops.
yep. Oh no. Yeah, that sounds a lot like hard won karma there, sir.
Yeah. I'm not gonna cry about that one.
No.
Moving on to trivia, we're gonna do the same thing. Do the bachelor party and then pangs.
Let's see. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this last name right. Carlos Jacot?
Works for me.
That's interesting. The actor who plays Richard, who is Harry's fiance, was also in the Buffy episode, season 3, episode 1, Anne, as Ken, a demon who worked people to death.
I knew he had been in another episode, but I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yep. He's pretty funny in Anne, actually.
Yeah, he's great in that one. Cordelia's attempt to break free of the stalker vamp by biting his arm is reminiscent of the final battle in Prophecy Girl, which is a 1997 episode from season 1 of Buffy. Cordelia, trying to barricade the library door from a horde of attacking vampires, bites a vamp's reaching arm and shouts, "See how you like it!"
It's amazing. Hey, if it works.
I love that.
Yeah.
Doyle fulfills the first half of his promise from Room with a View in 1999 to tell Angel the story of his life by confessing salient points of his failed relationship with Harriet.
Oh, Doyle. And then, fun fact, the language being spoken by the demons is Eretuscan and is a fictional language. So they helped make up... I love it when they make up fictional languages and actually think that through for media.
Yeah.
Though.
The sort of
like Tolkien.
Yeah, Tolkien is sort of the supermodel for that. Like, he created entire cultures as backstories to his stories. It's pretty intense.
Fascinating.
He also was the person who basically spearheaded the creation of the Oxford English Dictionary. All right.
He's so cool.
He is cool. The episode reveals Doyle's full name to be Alan Francis Doyle. This episode aired just after The Initiative, which also revealed a main character's full name, Daniel Oz Osborne.
And just a quick little add-on for the trivia in there, because I also find people's first names fascinating. I find it so cool. JW really enjoys switching the gender around for names. He doesn't typically do that with the main characters, but we see it. Obviously, Doyle's ex-wife, her name is Harriet, but they refer to her as Harry. We see that in a future character on the show as well, on Angel.
Oh, yeah.
And we also see that in his spin-off series, Firefly and Serenity, where he named one of the male identified characters as Jane. So he's known to enjoy switching around stereotypically male or female names and giving it to the other biological sex.
Fun.
It's funny, in the 90s that was new and fresh, and now it's like every third kid that you meet has a name that is either non-gendered or the other gender.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, and Lindsay. Lindsay was another one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to Pangs.
God, I love Lindsay. I can't wait till we get to talk about Lindsay. Anyway, this is one of my favorite bits of trivia that we have ever encountered on the podcast. So, the stunt double, Sophia Crawford, performed Buffy's stunts with a real live bear named Bonkers in a studio. And Bonkers was, fortunately, and also I guess unfortunately, such a tame bear that refused, no matter how hard they tried, he refused to act in a menacing way. And so they had to repeatedly distract him and try to dissuade him from just bouncing up and down during the scene.
Okay, James Marsters, what were you so freaking afraid of? This sounds like a ginormous teddy bear.
If I was tied to a chair, I guess I could see panicking, but I was like, I just love the image of this giant bear bouncing, having a great time,
and they can't get it mad for anything. Okay, no, James Marsters, you being a bit of a drama queen here. Well, this sounds adorable.
So much.
The actual Chumash people were entrenched along the California Central Coast, including around modern Santa Barbara, a probable real-life counterpart to Sunnydale, and numbered as many as 20,000 people before contact with Europeans. The tribe survives today as the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash, which has U.S. recognition as a Native American tribe and controls a reservation and casino in Santa Ynez, California.
Oh, that was one line I did not love that made me feel kind of uncomfortable.
Oh, you can have casinos now?
Yeah, you can have casinos now. I was like, oh,
ouch. We're gonna now introduce gambling as your main pastime.
Yep, I was like, nope, not that one, Buffy.
No, Buffy. Yeah. No. Angel and Giles suggest that the Chumash spirit, Hus, is seeking the strongest warrior. Dean Guerrero is briefly considered to be the one who is sought. Guerrero is the Spanish word for warrior. Oh,
I didn't put that together. Oh.
They're so clever. And finally, the establishing shot of the monastery is of Mission Santa Ynez in Solvang, California, and the interior scenes were filmed in the Mission San Fernando Rey de España in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, two-part question. Does the bachelor party still slay?
I think Sam and I are both making the same face.
Yeah,
it's a little
listeners,
dated.
what you can't see is both of them sort of shaking their heads, smiling uncomfortably, like
squirming.
Great for a podcast.
I mean, it's not my least favorite episode in the Buffy universe.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but I don't think I would seek it out in a rewatch.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like a half a slay.
I-
Like a half slay.
For me, I'm fine with it. I don't think it still slays. It, like whenever I look at like does it slay? Would I watch it again? And how relevant is it to current day situations? It's not really the theme so much. I mean, yes, but no. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I'm a little
missable.
meh. Yeah, yes, missable. I like that.
It's so not essential
Yeah.
No,
to the
no,
story.
not at all.
All right. How about Pangs?
Ooh.
Does Pangs still slay?
I go ahead, Kara.
I love Pangs. Like, I understand. I think it's, well, one, I think it's incredibly relevant right now, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. And even though there are parts that make me cringe, I love this episode. It just makes me happy.
It's one
Like,
I would seek out on a rewatch.
Yep.
It's
And
got
it's
problems.
mainly for Spike. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Spike and like his presence, I've said like a lot in this episode, but his presence is worth it to me, and Anya. And I think part of it is because, like I said earlier, this signifies what's to come, and I love the chemistry that this kind of Scooby Gang 2.0 ends up having. But I will watch this one on a rewatch. I'll seek it out and watch it on its own around Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's problematic, but it's nostalgic enough that I still love it.
Yeah. It's dated.
I think
Yes.
for me, I I love it as what we get from the characters. I am just and this is just a me thing. I am intrinsically against this propaganda with Native Americans and indigenous people. So I think if they didn't have that storyline, as good as it was to bring up some conversations that I can tell you were not happening at that time, I think
That's
it's
true.
inherently problematic to still make them the villain of the story, and that Buffy has to destroy them. And so like for me, anything that has that, like there's a Friends episode about it. Like, I mean, like I just don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
it. And this is much more
Yeah.
thoughtful than the Friends
At
TV
the
shows.
time, this was incredibly
Yeah.
progressive.
Oh, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. Like, and so for me, it's like, I don't want to watch any more TV shows or movies where indigenous people are portrayed as the villains. Like, I'm just, but it was handled a lot better than I think other TV shows and movies even currently are. But for me, I don't want to see
Yeah.
any more of the TV shows and movies where they're the villains. So if
Yeah.
that had been removed, I'd say yes, still slaying. But because
It's
of that,
fair.
I don't slay it. I don't slay. For me, that's just my little quirky thing.
That's fair. All right, we
Yep.
actually have news this time. This is very exciting.
Yay. We have finally, since you last heard from all of us, gotten some really big Buffy reboot casting news. So this comes from an article titled "Who is Ryan Kiera Armstrong? New Buffy star tearfully accepts reboot role from Sarah Michelle Gellar." And this is on today.com by Gina Vivinetto. And it says Ryan Kiera Armstrong has staked the role of the new Slayer in town in the upcoming Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival. The 15-year-old actor will co-star with original series lead Sarah Michelle Gellar. Geller wrote in the caption of her Instagram post, "I want to introduce you to Ryan K. Armstrong. From the moment I saw Ryan's audition, I knew there was only one girl that I wanted by my side. To have that kind of emotional intelligence and talent at such a young age is truly a gift. The bonus is that her smile lights up even the darkest room. Welcome to New Sunnydale," she added. Oh, it's so exciting. At 15, Armstrong already boasts an impressive acting resume. She played the lead role in the 2022 horror flick Firestarter, a remake of the 1984 film starring Drew Barrymore, and portrayed the daughter of Nicolas Cage's gunslinger character in the 2023 western The Old Way. Armstrong also appeared in the feature films Wildflower, The Art of Racing in the Rain, and Black Widow, and appeared as a regular on the television series Anne with an E and season 10 of American Horror Story.
And Star
She
Wars
looks
Skeleton Crew.
perfect.
Yeah, I was going to say, she was also one of the leads in Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus, which was a
This
very...
Today Show writer is not a Star Wars fan, clearly.
Yeah, it's a cute enough kids Star Wars story. It's fine. It's not great. It's fine.
Yeah. But she looks very promising. Like their interactions already are so sweet. They seem like they have great chemistry.
Yeah.
So
she was very good in Skeleton Crew. So, you know,
awesome.
I have high hopes.
Like, they may not go in this direction. She looks like she could be Buffy's daughter.
Yeah.
Right?
And that may not be at all the direction that they go in. But she looks like she could be. Eliza Dushku graduates with master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, and the article is by Adrienne Reese. Yay! Eliza recently revealed she earned her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Lesley University, detailing personal journey to achieving her major milestone. Graduating with my master's degree feels like more than an achievement. It feels like a deep calling realized, the 44-year-old wrote in the June 7th Instagram post, which features a video of her walking across the stage with her diploma. True growth, energy, and passion manifested. After nearly a decade of inner work and building a new life, I am so grateful for this moment in time. Indeed, Eliza has been focused on her new path since 2017, when she stepped back from Hollywood. Now, with her degree in hand, Eliza noted she feels grounded and ready to support others on their journey.
Love that for her.
I'm very excited for her, but I'm also like, oh, I miss her acting.
I know.
I know.
And me, I'm like, oh dear God, what did she have to go through? Of like, she's gonna have patients who recognize her as Faith.
Oh, absolutely.
And I cannot imagine how distracting that must be. She's already seen patients. If she has her master's degree,
That's
she had to do
true.
at least a year of clinical work. So I'm like
And
I would be so distracted.
She's here in like local. She's in a Boston suburb. Like,
really?
I was like, oh, maybe I could get Faith as my therapist. Like,
that would be.
Oh my God, I'd be so distracted and be like, hey, I do a podcast based on an iconic show you were on.
Are you going to be in the reboot?
Like, that's not weird.
I know.
At all.
Do you know how much of us have a crush on you? You're a gay icon.
That's so
Like,
funny.
just like, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, and then she was on other shows too, like True Calling.
Yeah.
And
It's like, you are responsible for so many people's bi-awakening.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
know.
I'm sure
And-
she's well aware of
Oh
that.
my goodness, yes. And
That's
so like
very
just
true.
all of this that I mean, I'm like, obviously I have nothing to do with Hollywood, but like it's you kind of keep your personal life separate from your therapy with your patients, and obviously stuff comes out or whatever. I
Yeah.
cannot imagine so much of her life was public. So I sure
Yeah.
doesn't listen, but like, hey, hang in there. Like it's
Yeah.
just redirection.
So, just in something I'm excited about, vaguely connected to the Buffyverse by virtue of vampires being involved in it, is the fact that Sinners is absolutely crushing it
So good.
at the
So
box
good.
office. This is a Ryan Coogler film, and it's an original story. It's not part of a franchise. It's not a sequel. It's fantastic. It's unique.
So good.
It's got
I want to watch
double
it
Michael
again.
B. Jordan in it. The
Mhm.
characters are rich and layered. The music is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. And it is now the 6th highest grossing horror movie of all time. And it's still going strong at the box office. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. The three of us have all seen it
Oh yeah.
and
Multiple
loved it.
times.
And
Amazing.
it's just so good. And if you like vampire stories, like, it's kind of critical. I think it's going to go on to be one of those like cornerstones
Yeah.
of the vampire
100%.
genre.
And I think it's going to be
It is
studied.
now in my top 10 of like all-time horror movies
Same.
for sure.
Same. And I think
Maybe top 5.
it's so like you can go in and watch it and those of you who are listening, probably a bunch of you have already watched it at home or in the theater. You can go in and watch it and just straight up enjoy it as a horror movie. Go for it. There's also, I encourage you, if you're listening to a podcast where we're talking about themes on a horror TV show, of like looking up online. It's so layered.
Dig in.
It like
Dig
Ryan
all the
Coogler,
way.
yeah, like he did so much research, and there's so much thoughtfulness that goes into it that it's just a beautiful film to look at from like just different themes going on in there. And it's just, every time I think I know the movie, because I've watched it like 4 or 5 times now, and it came out last weekend, it's just like I'll go on TikTok or IG or like Screen Rant, and there's another layer in there that I didn't pick up on, and it was just so cool. It's just really such a beautiful film, so I highly encourage everyone to take a look
And
at
the
it.
soundtrack is
the music
amazing.
is amazing.
So
amazing.
good.
Oh,
so
it's really good. I can't say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah.
And its huge runaway success makes me so happy, because I think it means that Ryan Coogler is going to have tons of doors. I mean, he already did Black Panther, and that was a huge success.
Amazing.
But I
That
just
was
think
awesome.
that more and more doors are going to open for him in Hollywood, and I can't wait to see the rest of
As they
his
should.
creations. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Ugh.
Like, give him a blank check. Like, he does a masterpiece whenever he does it, and everyone genuinely looks like they enjoy working with him. So that's,
And I mean,
that is true.
Michael B. Jordan probably has his pick of any director in Hollywood, and he keeps going back to Ryan Coogler for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's
So
the two of them together are a great partnership.
And so
I
good.
love
I mean, like, I
Michael
hopefully
B.
like
Jordan.
we'll cover it on one of the hiatuses or something.
Yeah,
in,
it's
in
definitely
the
on
future.
our
It's
list.
So good. So good. But yeah.
I know it was a very good movie and it's very serious, but I just feel like giggling at Michael B. Jordan right now.
Well, he's so
he is
handsome.
so excellent in that movie. It's just so good.
And there's two of him.
Yeah.
Yep, there's two.
Well,
There's
and
two
as
of
Penny knows, when I first started watching it at home, I sent you guys on the group text.
Camps.
Michael B. Jordan's so hot, like just no context, and I didn't realize Penny was recording. I should have. You told us, and it just didn't stick in my brain.
But immediately, it was just like, yeah,
and then I love that you were recording with Becky, and then like Becky was like, oh, she's watching Sinners. I'm
she's
like,
watching Sinners.
Like,
She's one of
immediately we
us.
knew. Yeah.
She gets me.
Well, it was so funny because your text popped up. I always turn on, when we're recording, I always put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but because I have a Mac computer, my text messages pop up on my computer screen, and it just popped up and was like, you know,
Camps.
Michael B. Jordan's so hot, and I cracked up in the middle of recording with Becky. That was for Murder Magnets, my other podcast, and she immediately understood it. I thought it was hilarious. Like, yeah, it was great. I was like, oh, Sam's watching Sinners.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
love it.
unlike when we, like a while ago, when we first started covering Angel, like when it was time after season 3 to start watching Angel, and I was watching the first episode of Angel, I texted the group, David Boreanaz is so handsome, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
no
It's like, I
context,
forgot
out of
we all knew.
nowhere.
We
And
all
everyone's
knew.
like, oh, you're watching episode 1 of Angel. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it's like, I miss Spike.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, there's just gonna be random,
Yeah.
mildly objectifying text messages being sent.
Yeah, that's just going to keep
It's fine.
happening.
100%. Yep.
We're equal opportunity. We have men in our group chats too.
That's true, and they usually agree with us about
Yeah.
the hotness of these
Yeah.
other men.
Because they're cool guys who are very secure in themselves.
Yep. It's true.
It's time to hear from our loyal listeners who have probably been wondering if we were ever coming back. We do have some feedback from some of them.
Bronze things. Things of bronze.
So let's read, I'll read this first one here from our good buddy Coffee and Vodka. Greetings, single slayers. Middling but funnish with useful moral. Embrace yourself, warts and all. Oh, this must be about the bachelor party.
Yes.
Useful moral. Embrace yourself, warts and all. Not much to say other than enjoyed watching Cordy taking Doyle bashing to a whole new level. 3 dream girls, exceptional exes, and brain salad surgeries out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and vodka.
He's so creative.
I know. I love that though. But that Boyle, embrace yourself, warts and all,
Mm-hmm.
works so well with that episode.
Yeah.
That is spot
Very
on.
much.
From Dina. Dina says, I come to you in seething hatred is my go-to tagline for Thanksgiving dinner at my in-laws' house. That's lovely. She said, I recently finished all seasons of White Lotus. It took all of season 1 to parse out the complicated ramifications of American colonialism and its effects on future generations.
Mm-hmm.
Buffy did it and then some in just 1 episode and almost 30 years ago. There are flaws. The Shumash warrior is a caricature. Yes, very much so. A Scooby-Doo villain. His point of view wasn't represented. We only hear Willow, a white woman, speak for him.
Good point.
But I do like that point. But that may have been the point. Joss Whedon may have been illustrating that indigenous voices are only heard via the mouths of white people. We could give him some credit, maybe.
Or Dina the credit.
Maybe.
That's very true.
Yeah, because that is a good point. Or, she goes on to say, he may be guilty of maintaining the stereotypical narrative, but at least he's trying to move the conversation forward. That is true. I will give them that for 1999. As a kid in the 1970s, Saturday TV was all westerns where the cowboys or cavalry always won. The Lone Ranger may have partnered with Tonto, but Tonto is still a sidekick. Now we're at least getting quality television about indigenous people. Reservation Dogs is just one fabulous example. Pangs falls somewhere in the middle.
Good point. Dino goes on to say, in high school, I was obsessed with Crazy Horse and read everything I could about him and the Lakota Nation. And I was indignant and angry about the conquest and colonization of indigenous people in America. You sound very similar, Dina.
Yeah.
My dad, a historian, would calmly tell me that this was the way of the world, that invaders with better technology and numbers devour other nations. The cycle never ends. Ooh, that hits
That's why
hard.
people are so scared of aliens.
Yeah.
That's
anyway
accurate. Years later, and Tina goes on to say, years later, here sits Spike, both a starving pilgrim and a conqueror. Oh, that's a good point. He states, you came in and you killed them and you took their land. That's what conquering nations do. It's what Caesar did, and he's not going around saying, I came, I conquered, I felt really bad about it. That's still funny to me.
I know.
The history of the world is not people making friends. You had better weapons and you massacred them. What could you possibly say that would make him feel better? Do you know how disconcerting it is to discover your dad speaks Spike? And that you cannot, and that you really cannot argue against what he's saying. Yeah, that's gotta suck as his daughter. At the end, they sit and feast, uneasily brushing the uncomfortable topic under the table to be forgotten. The world moves on. We are taught that Thanksgiving is a day of feasting, peace, and gratitude. The Macy's parade, turkey-induced naps, and football. We easily discard and rewrite history. Pangs, at once funny and flawed, still slays because it refuses us that happy ending where conflict is resolved and everyone sits at the table in bliss. Whedon throws conflicting opinions at us for the whole episode, keeping us uncomfortable, keeping his characters uncomfortable, and doesn't allow them a meal before throwing another, more personal uncomfortable fact onto the table. I remember Brady Bunch, Family Ties, or Cosby Show Thanksgiving, but I don't remember Brady Bunch, Family Ties, or Cosby Show Thanksgivings, but I've always remembered this one because Whedon got at the black heart of the holiday and won't allow us to forget it. I give Pangs 5 pumpkin pies, Dina. Oh, that's so good,
She's
Dina.
such a good writer.
You really
I
are,
like
Dina.
that. Yes,
really,
for sure.
making me think about it as well. And yeah, that was really good.
Very good.
Fantastic. All right. We have some voicemails. I'm going to start with Piotr because it's about the episode before Pangs, the initiative.
Hello, Still Slaying and friends. The initiative didn't need to demonize their perceived enemies. They already came pre-demonized. Seeing the initiative for the first time, I thought, what an efficient way to contain the monsters in Sunnydale. What an asset for Buffy. Go US military. That was, of course, before watching the rest of the season or knowing what the US government is really about, as I was turning from a resident alien into a naturalized citizen. I think it's safe to say watching it in 2025 gains a whole new dimension. A newly created government agency snatching individuals off the surface of Earth to keep them prisoner in a secret facility without due process. What if they capture someone by accident? That sure didn't age well. The storyline of this season is a fitting metaphor for the US immigration policies, right down to devising fancy cryptonyms. Illegal alien and resident alien isn't that different from hostile subterrestrial. Let's make it about me for a second. I was labeled a resident alien at one point, and as you may guess, it felt alienating, not to mention restrictions and work limitations that made me feel impotent, much like a vampire with a brain implant. But I was still lucky. There is no nuance when it comes to how the government operates. A vampire with a soul, or an implant, which could read as having a legal visa status, would be perceived as any other monster in their thermal scanners. A part-time monsters, like werewolves, would be monsters to them nonetheless. A witch or any other character with more nebulous relationship with evil would pose a threat equal to any other demon. The demonization of immigrants is mostly based on their ethnicity, and the thing about skin color is that no scanners are necessary. Even having a soul, aka legal visa status, may not protect them now from being snatched in the dark as long as they read as room temperature. I guess it's nice to be reminded that the current situation didn't just pop into existence, that it has been reflected on for at least 30 years, and that it's a consequence of the darkest fantasies of a large segment of our population finally coming to fruition. I would like to end with a short message to them.
Contain this.
I love that.
Oh, God. Piotr,
That's
you are
so
such
good.
a valuable contributor to this podcast.
Yeah.
I love your
Yeah.
messages. They always make me think about something I hadn't thought about before.
Yes.
And it goes back to something we were talking about earlier, I think before we hit record, which is the diversity of perspectives is so valuable to have people with different life experiences, bringing them to the interpretation of any work of writing or art is so valuable. So thank you for continuing to send in really thoughtful and really well structured voicemails.
Yeah. Well, and just it's still, like we were talking about, unfortunately so relevant today. The tendency that a lot of people have, sometimes very intentionally, like this current administration, of using very dehumanizing language when it comes to immigrants. And I like the parallels that you're drawing between, the hostiles, or they call them subterrestrials, or so, like, basically that same type of dehumanizing language, and how it can be applied to, our current political state. I think.
And also,
That's why I get very frustrated when people are like, why do you have to make everything political?
Everything is
I'm
political.
sorry, but everything is political.
Yeah,
Like, it just is.
And that makes me think about the other quote unquote hostiles that the initiative has. We know Spike is violent. We know Spike murders. And that makes me wonder, like, is it just the propaganda of the initiative? I doubt all of those prisoners were taken in the act of trying to kill someone. It was just they saw an other and they took them and experimented on them and are essentially recreating what Nazi Germany did, but to
there's no
the demons.
nuance to the initiative. They
and like
non-human,
we're
they
it.
get captured.
Yeah, demon, bad. They have no, and we know that in the future of the Buffyverse especially, that we encounter multiple demons that are not dangerous per se,
and other
are
shows
no
pick that up.
different.
Yeah, and other shows pick that up as well. If these are humans, other shows that pick that up as well. And I resonate with what Penny and Kara were saying, Peter. I think your feedback is so awesome, and just like what you're bringing in of the like the people who were born and raised in America, and how other people who are brave and courageous and have a high distress tolerance to come and live in another country. As just someone who, like, I just went on vacation to another country and was very much struck by how I was othered, and that wasn't hostile. It was my own perception. Different language, different culture, different food, different way of living, and it takes such bravery and courage and resilience to be able to do that, and to be able to start your life over. And it's just it's such a powerful, incredible thing that humans do, and in this country we have demonized it, and we have made it a bad thing, and we have made it as though these people who are brave and courageous, somehow that takes away from us. And it's such a lie. It's completely it's not true, it's not factual. And
I can
using
feel the
that lie.
rage bubbling up.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but so like I just appreciated that, and that'll make me look at the initiative and their policies and the episodes coming up a lot differently. Of that is true, and we're doing it currently right now in our own country. So so thank you.
Well, and it's like Riley is kind of like, to a certain extent, one of those people that's like, I can't be racist, I have black friends.
Yeah.
Like, he is the epitome of that type of person.
Well,
and interesting things to be had.
There's some
conversations
growth coming for Riley.
Yeah, well, and also like our Slay Squad, our Scoobies.
Yeah,
they hear about this, and because they did it to Spike, they're not really caring that this is happening. I mean, I think they're curious, and we'll see that coming up. But there's a lot of permission of like, oh yeah, well, you're doing this to demons, okay. They're doing this to vampires, okay. Like, there isn't this sort of necessary revolt that I think maybe if it had happened later on in the Buffy season, there would be a lot more alarm in there.
I think that Supernatural really picked up the torch on this theme.
Very much so.
Going forward. Yeah.
Teen
Oh,
Wolf
I never
did
really
too.
watched Teen Wolf. Yeah.
You might like it. The first season's very much high school. But
yeah, that's probably why I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it grows into itself. But they talk about how, I mean, there's a famous quote in Teen Wolf where the TV series, where they talk about, we may be monsters, but that doesn't mean we have to be evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's also that great moment in the movie Wreck-It Ralph where he's in group therapy, and the one guy goes, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Let's see nuance.
All right, we have 2 voicemails from our good buddy Steve, and we are going to play them in order. So this first one, I believe, is for the Bachelor Party. Yes, it is.
Hello, Still Slaying. This is Steve, and this is going to be for Angel Season 1. I think it's Episode 7, The Bachelor Party. Okay, so Cordelia has a date, and and Doyle is trying to get her to tell him details or get Angel to go out with him, but and of course, after she leaves, Doyle has to talk about his half-demon side that he thinks Cordy would never accept. I love the cutting back and forth between Cordelia's scintillating dinner conversation and Doyle and Angel fighting a vampire nest. Ooh. Well, at least Doyle staked him with the arrow, so yeah, this scene here is definitely Doyle saving Cordelia is something else. Yeah, Cordelia. He's got really hidden depths that you don't know about, but you'll find out. Doyle's first name is Francis? Is this Stripes? The big Francis, Psycho. Hey, sorry, that's probably a reference that's lost on most of your listeners, but from the movie Stripes, the character named Francis was also called Psycho. Okay, this whole thing, and we'll get to Harry's husband or fiance walking in and accusing Angel of being Doyle and Doyle not being handsome enough. Yeah, you got to sign divorce papers before the ex-wife or before the wife can get married again. That's the legalese. But of course, we know there's more to it than that because we've seen this before. Cordelia will want to charge you if Angel works for you. Yeah, that's probably true, Doyle. Oh, her fiance is a demon, and she knows about it. and so the demon that Harry is engaged to but he owns expensive windows. That's important. Oh, so now both Cordelia and Doyle are invited to the bachelor party. Wait. The eating of the first husband's brains? No. Not charades. Charades is okay. Wait, Doyle was a third grade teacher? Kidding about the whole We Are the World thing, but Doyle has depths, Cordelia. Okay, I zoned out for a bit, but they're going to eat Doyle's brains? No, not quite. Yeah, this is not right. Of course, Doyle doesn't come clean with Cordelia about his demon side. On to next week.
I had forgotten about one of the funniest parts of that scene with the brain eating is that the dad or the uncle, whoever he is, like does a dotted line across Doyle's forehead that he has on his forehead for the rest of the episode. Like,
because
cut here.
So
you want to make sure there's symmetry. You could get lost on that.
You don't want a
human
messy
forehead.
cut.
Yeah.
How to remove the skull cap?
Yeah, it's unappetizing to have an uneven murder line.
Oh god.
Steve also, of course, sent us in a live Steve about pangs. So here we go.
Hello, still slaying. This is Steve, and this is going to be for Buffy the Vampire Slayer season. What are we on now? 4 or 5? Anyway, it's pangs. Is that the penis gut diseases from a Shumash tribe one? I don't remember. I always laugh in the previous on when they show Spike standing up and going, "The big bad is back." And he gets tased from behind. Oh, I love when Buffy sneaks up on one of them. And this is great. Oh, yeah, I forgot the Angel's in this one. Yeah, and James Morstairs has been added to the opening credits. I forgot about that. I absolutely love Emma Caulfield as Anya. I'm imagining having sex with him right now. Why is Buffy wearing that cowboy hat? Have we ever seen her wear a cowboy hat before? Oh, I see. She's wearing the cowboy hat because this is Thanksgiving episode, and Allison and Willow's just gone on this tirade about Thanksgiving. Okay. Oh, the foreshadowing of what else is there right under our feet. They are on a hellmouth. Pause it for a second after that discussion between Buffy and Willow, because I teared up listening to Buffy talk about everybody having a place to go on Thanksgiving. Goodness gracious.
That's
okay,
so
a little more
sweet.
composed now. I spent many a holiday away from home. So I understand what that's
Steve.
like. Oh, how little you know, Anya. He might be getting all the diseases. That's one fun little hobby you got there, Will. I love seeing this. Willow and Buffy investigating together. Father Gabriel. Not the Father Gabriel from The Walking Dead, though. Everybody finds out that Angel is there except Buffy until the very end, right? And Spike is looking bad. Angel still being the jealous boyfriend, even though he's not the boyfriend anymore. Who's that guy? The whole Harmony-Spike relationship, I never understood. Oh, and Buffy just witnessed the Shumash tribe member killing the priest. Oh, she just rung his head against that bell. Did Buffy just correct Giles from saying Indian to say Native Americans when earlier in the episode, didn't she say Indian? And the Shumash warrior is getting some weapons. Oh, back at Giles, Xander is dying. Oh, Xander, that's the wrong thing to say about a vengeance demon. Your girlfriend was a former vengeance demon, or is a former vengeance demon. Spike trying to get in the door with that blanket. Meanwhile, back at the Shumash mission, the Shumash warrior is building an army. Yeah, some of what Spike said makes sense, but it's a complicated issue. An interesting addition to vampire lore in Buffy, Spike said he thinks he can eat Xander if he's dead. Right, in Supernatural, dead man's blood is poison to vampires. When vampires who don't eat, they don't die, they just become living skeletons. Ugh. Fort Giles is under siege, and Spike's getting turned into a Boromir pincushion. Ooh, and Buffy just got an arrow to the arm. When Angel just jumps in and breaks that guy's neck, and I guess he died, so his own knife can kill him, and that's what happened. Buffy killed a bear. Oh, and Xander drops the bomb that Angel was there. Of course, that's the end of the episode.
Aww.
See ya. There's the oops.
Thanks, Steve. That was such a wild ride. I love it. So fun.
It's funny.
It was like a roller coaster. It was so great.
I did love when Angel was just like, Willow, I don't have time for personal stuff. It's like, I just need you to tell me, who's that guy?
Yeah.
He delivered that so well.
Like every ex, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, who are you with?
Yeah,
Are they
he
better
can't
than
help
me?
himself.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Steve is going to be guesting with us soon. I can't remember now which episode it is, but it's in the next, 3 or 4 episodes. So
Very cool.
we'll have him back on.
We'll get our own live Steve.
Yes, a live Steve.
Live Steve. live.
All right, that is the end of the main section of the podcast. So, as usual, stay tuned for the Watcher's Diaries at the end if you want to hear us talk about spoilery stuff.
And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can find all of our contact information at podcastica.com and in the show notes for each episode.
Also at podcastica.com, you'll find links to our social media pages and all our other shows. There are so many of them. I personally, right now, am also podcasting about the show Poker Face, which is on the Peacock Network, and it's a murder of the week.
So good.
Drifter, kind of a comedy, kind of not a comedy show that is a lot of fun. And that podcast is called Murder Magnets.
Like a dark comedy Sherlock Holmes almost. A little gritty.
Yeah.
American.
Mm-hmm. Also a
gritty.
little Incredible Hulk, Kung Fu,
yeah,
Drifter. Yeah. And then there's also a lot of references to other films and genres. It's
amazing.
It seems like they're having a lot of fun making it.
Mm-hmm. With some superb guest stars.
Amazing guest stars.
Too.
Amazing.
I died. Ugh, it's such a good show.
It's a lot of fun to podcast about. So if you want to join us over on Murder Magnets, that'd be great.
And I've been listening to Run for Your Lives. They just did a really great recap, Daphne and Paige, with guest star Mark, with Godzilla -1, and I thought they did a truly excellent job digging into a movie that has so many themes and is not just a monster movie, but I thought they did a really great job with that.
I'm looking forward to listening to that. I loved the movie.
It's really good.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've just been playing a lot of catching up with Handmaid's Tale. Y'all did an excellent job covering the end of that, by the way. I'm sad it's over, but I'm also kind of relieved. I'm not gonna lie. That was a really stressful show.
I know. And shout out to Amy Archer did a guest pod on that as well, and she was really fantastic.
Yeah.
She does Little Miss Recap for the reality shows. Fantastic. But she did a Handmaid's Tale recap on one of the episodes, and I thought she vibed really well with everyone, and just one of us.
Very
One of
enjoyable.
us.
One of us. One of us. I need to play catch up more so on Murder Magnets for sure. I love Poker Face, so I'm gonna have to give that more of a listen.
Excellent.
And of course, as always, if you like what we do, feel free to give us a 5-star rating, a review, or a like, a follow, and subscribe. And be sure to tune in next time when we'll be covering Angel Season 1, Episode 8, I Will Remember You. Thanks, everyone, and...
Buffy, earlier you agreed with me about Thanksgiving. It's a sham. It's all about death.
It is a sham, but it's a sham with yams. It's a yam sham.
You're not gonna jokey rhyme your way out of this one.
It's a yam sham.
It's a yam sham.
I say that every Thanksgiving.
Me too.
It's a yam sham.
It's a yam sham.
Yam sham.
It's like,
all right.
it's a yam sham.
That is the end of the non-spoiler section. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, you should stop listening right now.
Woohoo!
3, 2, 1. That's enough time for you to stop. So now we can go on to the Watcher's Diaries and talk about spoilery stuff and spoilery things.
It's too bad we can't sneak a look at the Watcher Diaries and read up on Angel. I'm sure it's full of fun facts to know and tell.
Yeah. That's too bad. That stuff is private.
Also, Giles keeps them in his office, in his personal files.
Most importantly, it would be wrong.
I will say the theme of justice and vengeance and revenge will come back when Faith returns to the show and really messes with Buffy's life. And then
I
really
get
when she goes to
so
Angel, that'll be the
viscerally angry at her when she goes to Angel, and I understand it. And I understand why Angel behaves the way he does, but it makes me so mad.
It's an intense set of episodes, the ones with Faith.
I like, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because of I go right back to points in my life where I just relate so much to Buffy, like that feeling of being betrayed or not being able to control the situation.
Yeah.
Well, like,
I just
and for me, and I didn't really pick up on it when it first came out. I mean, I think I was like 14. Like, I didn't really pick up on it. Faith, as much as she has a lot of trauma and probably stuff that would like curl our nasal hairs that she's been through, she tried to rape Xander, and then she did rape Riley.
Yeah.
And so it is this sort of thing where
it's icky.
Yeah, like
and then she seriously tortures Wesley too. I mean,
like
there's a lot of darkness in Faith, and they explore it so deeply and beautifully in that episode because it's all about self-hate.
Yeah,
like all of the dark things she does are because she hates herself.
Yeah,
and it's
she's taking it out on everyone. Yeah, and I think for me, Angel knows this. He's known this since when she, season 3 of Buffy. I find it a little challenging because we're not 200 years old and having been through it ourselves. He really babies Faith.
Yeah, he does.
And so, like, to a degree, I'm not sure it's helpful as we kind of see. I mean, like, it's not really super helpful to enable someone to a degree, and like she needed to go to jail and get therapy and structure and away from everything. And his sort of protecting her at all costs was not, I think, valid compared to how she acted.
I think that it gave her a little bit of space to think about what she had done when she wasn't in survival mode anymore.
What is that?
Oh, that was Kara's ringtone.
That was my alarm to take my vitamin D.
I was like, is that the Imperial March?
That's hilarious.
It is, because if I don't take the vitamin D, then my levels will remain critically low.
I was like, she's not that evil.
When you said that vengeance was going to come back when a fan favorite returns, I thought you were referencing when Darla comes back in Angel.
So did I.
And Angel goes dark without losing his soul, but he still goes dark.
I was just like, that was an adventure.
All of the stuff with Angel, with Darla and Drusilla and
they're like
Angel,
weird,
so
dirty,
that is also
sexy
true.
Conflicts.
I gotta say, I find him fascinating
Yep.
in that little pseudo evil turn that he takes. I actually find him more interesting and relatable. I don't know what that says about me when he does that. I remember, like, it's so weird. I didn't pick up on Faith's behavior like this, but I did pick up. I remember I liked Lindsay because Christian Kane has been like in my spank bank forever, apparently. But like I didn't want.
I love that man.
Like, even when it was kind of inappropriate when I was like 15, but like.
No, that's when it's fine.
But like
it's
so
in your
like
head.
but like no, it's totally in my head. But like but like I remember not wanting Lindsay and oh my what's her name? Lila. Thank you. I was gonna say Darla, but I'm not that side. I didn't want Lindsay and Darla to die, but even as a 15-year-old, I was like, I get why he locked them in the basement. I mean, like, at what point are you just like, y'all are evil, and like, I mean,
you reap
come
what
on
you
now.
sow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've done horrible things, like, I mean, I thought their judgment of him doing that, and I get it, but it was just like, it's not that bad.
Oh, it's such a great plot line, because then of course the Angel, like his, the side characters on Angel and Angel himself separate for a while, and there's a lot of great stories that come out
And
of
he's
that
kind
separation.
of fun. He's
Yeah.
kind of fun as like pseudo dark. He's not full Angelus, because we don't want
Right.
that.
Well, that's even full on Angelus is kind of
I mean, he was
funny
delightful
and fun
as
to
a villain.
watch.
I mean, what a
He
great
is like
villain.
an id gone wild. It
He's
is
so
really
compelling.
entertaining from a TV screen.
Yeah.
But
Like,
like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's, that's, I mean, I've always found the villains fascinating.
Yeah.
Mostly because that
Yep.
would never be the choices I would make.
No,
And
but they're
so
fun
it's
to
like,
watch.
yeah, it's like what could be. And
it's,
like, we can all become the villains.
it's
they
the reason why
usually
we
have
like
a little
these,
bit more character development.
It's the reason why we like these dark genres that we like, is that it's, it's this safe way to explore the darkest parts of humanity. It's a TV screen, it's separate enough from you, but you get to have the emotions, and you get to see the consequences of evil. And so you can sort of, at the end of each arc, you can be like, all right, so I don't want to go evil, but it was fun to play in that sandbox for a little while. Like,
exactly.
it's
to
safe.
get better understanding. And honestly, like, I like seeing that we are just one or two things happening in our lives to become the villain. I mean, I very much famously believe that like anyone is capable of anything given the right set of circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's like we try to not do it, and at the same time,
I mean,
it's we're not that far off from just about anything.
It's, we were, it's funny. I was just listening today to the Cast of Us coverage of 28 Days Later in preparation for 28 Years Later coming out next week. And they were talking about the main character, Jim, and how he goes from being just like some everyday guy to they kept calling it Feral Jim. Like there's this whole part in the third act where
like
Jim becomes sort of an avenging angel, and he's so violent and so rageful that he's almost like the zombies in the movie, and they were talking about it on the podcast. Like it's in almost everybody to go there, like you're saying, 100%. If the circumstances are right. And it's important to remember that about ourselves and to be on guard of it. Like you don't want to go to the dark place if you can avoid it, but you have to sometimes take a step outside yourself and make sure you're not going there.
Yeah. Oh, I would absolutely turn to Feral Sam. Like, I mean, I like it's a joke. It's like we were talking about it, my cousins and I and my aunt, and we were just talking about like what we would be capable of, and like me as someone who's never even thrown a punch, like I am just not a physically violent person, but also I've never had to be. So like there's also that thing, and so my aunt was like, what if someone broke in and tried to kill us and you? I'm like, oh, I'd kill them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, I'd need a lot of therapy afterwards, but I wouldn't hesitate. What are you talking about? As someone who's never even thrown a punch, I think I smacked my sister when we were kids. Like, I am not a violent person. But yeah, like that doesn't even occur to me that isn't something I would do in defense of myself or other people, because that's what the situation would be. I would absolutely go Feral Sam in that situation that Jim was in and when he did it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was the right thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
But it
was the
was
only thing to do. Like based on what those soldiers set up for him, it was the only thing he could do.
It was one of the things that makes that movie so good is the way that third act reveals that the rage virus that is the point of the movie is in all of us all the time. And it just needs to be triggered. And if you guys haven't seen 28 Days Later, like
it is
so good. It is so good.
And it's not just a monster
later, 28 Weeks Later was not made by the same filmmakers. It's not the same
You can
screenwriter.
tell.
It's not the same director.
It doesn't have the
It's-
same
It's not
vibe
as deep.
at all.
But
Can tell.
this new movie
Yeah.
coming out next week, 28 Years Later, is the same filmmakers. So
Mhm.
I have very high hopes for it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same, yeah.
And Sam and I are going to see it
interesting.
together.
I know.
I'm so jealous.
You got to move to
you know,
Massachusetts.
Come
I
move,
know.
come move. But yeah, it's
They have reciprocity with the Texas State Bar.
there you
They
go.
can do it.
It's not just a monster movie. So like I think if people get
Mm.
pushed away from just monster films, I would say Sinners, 28 Days Later, like there's
They're
like Penny was
thoughtful.
talking about, there's humanity themes that actually
There are
elevates these
multiple
films.
layers. You can appreciate it on a surface level
Yeah.
as just a
That's what you
fun
want.
horror
All
movie,
good.
but if you want to dig deeper, there's so much there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Fantastic. All right. I think we are done here. So that's the complete end of our show at 3 hours and 18 minutes of recording time. Thanks for listening, everybody. And until next time, I am Penny.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm Kara.
Keep slaying.